Welcome
Cool.
back to the show, Ben.
Hello, hello.
Nice to
Thank
have
you.
you
Thanks
on.
for having me.
Yes, of
Yep.
course, man. We met a couple years ago. We did an episode of this show last August. We know we've played a lot of your game, Gene Shift. I
Yep.
recently did another run at it last week. Got some feedback for you. But I,
Excellent.
I guess first off, just let people know again, like, what is Gene Shift and sort of I guess just an overview of Gene Shift and what it is.
Yeah. Gene Shift is a game I've been working on for about almost 10 years now. First as a hobby for 5 years, and now I think full time for about 5 years. And it's inspired by GTA 2. So it's got the top-down view. A little guy runs around with guns. You can get into cars. Um, and I've recently added a battle royale mode to it, where there's a bit of a twist to this battle royale though, which is that each round is crazy fast. So it's only lasts like 3 minutes, and you play multiple rounds back to back. And this just has a few benefits because you get the rush of being the last man standing more often, and you don't have to. You know how like in PUBG, sometimes you might play a game, run around for half an hour, not actually see anyone, and then just get shot in the head,
Yeah.
and it's like it's all over. So Gene Shift is a bit more fast paced than that.
I would say a
Yeah,
bit, like quite a bit. like
yeah, exactly. I mean,
and
that's the whole
and
thing. It's
yeah, I'm not you don't get PUBG vibes when you play it. You get more
no,
sort of like old school like arcade vibes, right?
yeah. I mean, it probably plays like more of a round by round deathmatch, but it borrows a lot of battle royale elements. Like it's
That's
got the
true.
circle, it's got the loot, it's got the last man standing, all
Yes.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
it's a
mean
bit of a hybrid, I guess you could say.
it's more like a shifted perspective of something like Soldat, which of course like that's one
Yep.
of the big inspirations for it. Yeah, I'm sure the people that were into Soldat were like super excited to check out
Yeah.
Gene Shift, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of my best friends was hugely into Sold Out like 9 years ago, and he posted on the Sold Out forums about
Yeah,
my game, like when I first made the website. And some of the guys who read that post still are in the community today. Like one of them's a moderator.
nice.
So they've been, yeah, Sold
Yeah,
Out was also a big inspiration.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that I'm pretty sure that we talked about that last time, but I was just thinking like, imagine if you play a game from years and years ago, and you just like hope that there's going to be either like a remastered version, or there's going to be a sequel, or there's going to be something like this that replaces it. But yeah, you rarely get that opportunity. Um,
Yep.
I'll give you an example, and this is just a random example, but there's a game called Goof Troop on
Okay.
Super Nintendo, which has a very kind of, I was gonna say specific, but it's not really. It's a co-op kind of puzzle game, of course, with the characters from Goof Troop. You've got Goofy and Max, father son, and each of them
Yep.
has like you both have like you can pick up like little tools and you solve puzzles together. And it was basic. It was screen to screen. You'd have to solve a puzzle or get past some enemies to move on to the next screen, and you maneuver your way through this maze. Eventually, you get to a boss fight. Very simple, and you could play through that game a bunch of times. You get kind of sick of it. You like wish that somebody else would take that concept and move it forward a little bit. And it just
Yep.
never really was anything like it. And then recently, there's this game because I actually discovered that game way later and actually just played it like on emulation with people, and,
Yep.
and there's a way that you can play online um, using emulators, and there's a game called Dandy and Randy, which
Okay.
which is like which is a guy who I forgot his name. I feel bad forgetting his name, but he also loved Goof Troop and wanted to make a game inspired by that
Yep.
using different set of characters, and it's exactly like that. But it took so long for it to happen. So like
Yeah.
if you're someone who likes something like Soldat, and
Well,
then eventually
yeah,
eventually you get something like Gene Shift that isn't exactly like Soldat, but
takes inspiration from it for sure.
yeah,
I mean, I think that that's a bit of a like indie games in a way rescue these old genres because if you're a AAA studio, you can't really make a top-down shooter anymore. Like
no,
that's just not going to make enough money. It's not
yeah,
mainstream enough. But there are lots of advantages to the top-down shooter genre. Like for example, you can see behind you. You can see everyone on the screen all at the same time. Whereas in first-person shooters, you can't see behind you. And that, I mean, there's plenty of other changes as well. But like that simple mechanic completely changes the gameplay, and in a good way, I think. But for marketing reasons and because you can't really make it look that pretty, you're just not going to see another AAA top-down shooter.
Right.
Or same for a side-scrolling shooter.
Hmm.
Like they're just too, yeah, too niche, I guess.
Well,
But
well, there's
now
there's
indie
some.
games can fill that.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a lot more room to be. You can just be outlandish and out there. You can, and your budget is lower, and yeah, so
Yep,
you can take chances, right?
yep,
You have something
yeah,
like
completely,
Hotline Miami. You would consider that an indie title, but yet
for sure. Yep,
it hit the mainstream. Sometimes that
yep,
happens. You get an indie title that crosses over to the mainstream. Undertale, Hotline Miami.
yes.
Um,
Every indie dev stream. um,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, definitely, it happens from time to time.
So
Um,
what would you attribute that success of a title like something like Miami? Does that just make it through word of mouth? I never really like looked
I think.
into what happened there.
Well, I mean, it's first of all, it's a great game. Like you
Of
really get like
course.
a massive adrenaline rush when you play that game. Um, so you need that aspect, but I guess you also need there are certain elements like timing. Like Hotline Miami, I think came out in 2012, and back then there were only like 200 games released on Steam each year. So basically there was like the day it came out, it was the only new game on all of Steam. Whereas
Whoa.
now, I think close to 8 or 9,000 new games come out
Yeah.
each year. So there's way more competition.
Huh.
So that Hotline Miami probably, if it came out today for the first time, wouldn't have done nearly as well. Like it still would have done well because it's still a great game. And it had Devolver Digital as its
Yeah,
publisher,
of
so that gives
course.
it some sort of marketing
Hmm.
boost and a bit of credibility. But yeah, there's a lot of factors, I guess.
Yeah, the marketing is a big part of it. We talked last time about how you really not necessarily like despised marketing, but it's not necessarily the most fun part of development. Like
No, it's definitely,
you're a one man band. Like you're doing everything. So
yeah,
like what
it's
have
definitely not as fun as actually making the game. Like actually
yeah
making the game's a great fun because you go onto Discord and you have a chat with the people who play it and you get into discussions about how to improve this or that, and then you code it and then you chuck it out a release and you get to play it with the guys, and that's great fun.
huh
Marketing is more a bit like sending out email after email into the void and maybe 2% get responses or something,
yeah
which
yeah
isn't quite as entertaining, but it's
no it's a
way more important.
it's yeah and
Yeah.
and you can
At this at
imagine. Go ahead, sorry.
So I was just saying, like, at this stage, it like I am transitioning more now into a marketing role. So I'm trying to spend, more than 50% of my hours worked on marketing as opposed to development,
Huh.
because, you can spend years making a game as fun as you possibly can, but if no one hears about it, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah,
Um, so
exactly.
yeah, marketing's where it's at for now.
And you've had, well, we went over this last time, your success through your viral Reddit posts. You've become a bit of a master at these things. You're kind of like it's almost like you're aiming for one of these um, big viral Reddit posts a year now, because you're
Yep.
yeah
Pretty much, yeah,
yeah
yeah. I'm going to be making another one when the game goes free to play in like a month or two.
right
Um, yeah,
now
and yeah,
now
I go on.
I just wanted to preface that with maybe like a time frame for that, because this episode might not come out on platforms for like a month from when we're
Right.
recording it. So
Yeah.
are you thinking
So
like
it's
summer, like quarter two, something like that?
uh so hopefully sometime in March. I mean, the thing which
Oh right.
concerns me is there's like Half-Life 3 or Half-Life Alex is coming out,
Oh okay.
and I don't know the exact date of that yet, but I can't
You
make
don't
any
want to get
announcement anytime
no,
within a week before or after, or
because
probably, I mean,
that's what everyone's
Half-Life
going to
of
be
all
talking
games is
about.
probably
Yeah.
like the most anticipated game release of all time.
Yep.
So there's no space in the news, or
For
on Reddit
anything
or
else?
anywhere or on Twitter or YouTube,
No.
for my game.
No.
at that time.
Well,
So, but yeah, I want to do it soon.
you've only been waiting 10 years for this release. I think you can wait a
Yeah,
week or two.
yeah, yeah.
That'll work.
Um, yeah, exactly.
Uh,
But yeah, but basically, I spent all of it last year polishing up the game,
okay.
and it's pretty much at the point now where there's really not much more that needs to be done. Like you can always make improvements, but at a certain point, all the low-hanging fruit has been taken, and if I want to really improve the game now, I just have to, make more content, which is good fun, but it's not going to change
I don't
the
know, man.
experience for a new player for very much.
You got enough content in Gene Shift, honestly. Like, if anything,
Yeah, for
I
an
don't
indie
know.
game, I think so. Yeah.
Map variety is cool, stuff like that. Maybe a couple weapons or whatever. But
Yep.
I mean, there's enough of those already. There's so much.
Yep.
There's like
Yeah. I think there's enough.
there's so much content in the game. It's like a game that's been out for. It's like a game that has been out for like 6 7 years, and just has consistently had content added to it because that's what it is, like that's what it
Yep.
is. Like
Yep.
it's like just a ton of vehicles, uh, you know, guns, maps, game modes,
All the
campaign,
skills and stuff. Yep.
skills. Oh yeah, don't forget about the skills. Jeez.
Yep.
But let's go back to the Reddit stuff and
Ah. Yep.
talk a little bit about your Elon Musk Cybertruck meme, because
Ah. Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah. That was funny. So I got that idea from uh, my girlfriend actually. She like made a joke with one of her colleagues about what if the Cybertruck would look hot pink? And then she showed me this, like, her phone. I was like, oh, that's funny. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I have a game with cars. And that car is so like low poly that I could actually make that car in like 10 minutes, which I did. And then I was like, yeah, there's got to be some meme to make out of this. And, yeah, I mean, at that point, Cybertruck was just going. Oh, I can see you streaming it now.
yeah.
Yeah, Cybertruck was just like all over Reddit all the time, 24/7, and yeah, and there was that little joke at the end where the
Yeah.
the windows
Yeah.
shutter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so I posted that one, and it just skyrocketed on Reddit. It was the ultimate Reddit meme,
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much.
So
Um,
like when you go into making something like that, you like how much effort?
I I think I spent a full day making that. So I spent the morning modeling the GIF, and that took
yeah,
me about 2 hours or something. Because so modeling the truck,
yeah,
that took me about 2 hours, and then I spent the rest of the day trying to actually film it because I wanted to show off the game as well and make it look
yeah,
cool with the blowing up the cars. And so I
yeah.
had to spend time positioning on the cars and positioning bad guys just in the right spot so I could run over them and make a big splat of blood and all that. But then yeah, and then like an hour in Premiere, like editing it, and then I wait until my time in Australia is about 11 p.m. But I think it's pretty much 7 in the morning around New York time. So pretty much when America is waking up is the optimal time to post something on Reddit
Interesting.
because yeah, I saw this analysis which goes through. It analyzed all these different posts that made the front page, and that's the time when they get the highest chance of hitting the front page. So I wait till then, and then I post it, and then yeah, this one just happened to go really nicely, which is great. The,
it.
the, the issue with all of these posts though is it's not the upvotes, it's the moderators of our gaming.
Oh yeah.
Every single time I am in fear that they're going to just delete the post, and
Uh,
about 80% of the time they do delete the post, and then I have to send them a message, and I'm like being incredibly polite. I'm like, "Hello, good sir. Why did you what rule did I violate with this post?"
hmm,
And they eventually they re-enable it sometimes, but
hmm.
yeah, the mods of our gaming are my nemesis.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because they don't want self promotion and stuff like that.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, but the strict rule is uh, only 10% of your posts can be self promotion,
Oh boy.
which but that's easy. I make sure that I
You're.
post a whole bunch
Oh
of
yeah.
other
You're
stuff on
you're
Reddit. Like
posting
I
stuff
use
all the
Reddit.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I always use Reddit. So
Yeah.
less than 10% of my stuff is about Gene Shift,
Yeah.
but you really don't want to get into some technical argument with the moderator and say, well, actually, technically you're wrong because if you count the last 30 posts, you'll see that only two of them are from a game or something like that. Like that's yeah, you have to be careful
Yeah.
doing that because if they permanently ban my username from the subreddit, that would be quite unfortunate.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, it's not like you leverage this for promoting all the time. It's just nice to be able to have the ability for something to go viral because it's fun. It's fun for everybody. It's not
It's
like yeah,
yeah. I mean, the main benefit of that Cybertruck thing was not any sales that I got. Like, it didn't really drive that many sales, but it was just fun. It was just like a cool. It's always cool to hit the front page of Reddit.
yeah.
Um,
I had a good laugh when I saw it the first time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. I'm gonna have to brainstorm some more ideas. I just have to stay in the know. Know
Yeah.
what the latest memes are
Well, I think
for the
I
mechanic
think
game.
the Baby Yoda stuff is kind of dying down, so we'll have to wait for the
Yep,
next thing, whatever it is. I don't know.
yep,
Yeah, I think you
yep.
missed the boat on Baby Yoda. I'm not sure what the
I
next one,
did
but the next one's gonna be whatever like summer blockbuster movies are coming out.
pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah, because
yep,
like the memes around the Oscars and stuff, those die down after about a week. I don't know. We
yep.
have to do a whole like deep dive analysis on memes to see like what is what is coming up.
It's yeah, like just the way that memes spread throughout the internet is fascinating. And
Yeah, it
like,
really is.
what was that OK Boomer meme that
Yep.
was a few months ago? Like, that
Yeah.
one really exploded. I looked at the Google Trends chart for OK Boomer, and it just skyrockets like in a single day. That meme was bigger than most, but I don't know why. Maybe it's
I
just
don't
so simple.
yeah, it just it resonated, and I don't think people even understand what a boomer is.
Yep,
You know,
yep,
I kind of like referred to myself as a boomer on Twitter just as a joke
yep.
because people wouldn't even most of course some of my like more intelligent people followers on Twitter like friends are like so you're looking pretty good for someone who was
Yeah,
born just
you would
after World
be
War.
you're Gen X, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm borderline millennial Gen X.
Well, I mean, I graduated high school in 2000, so I think I'm not sure where the cutoff is, but I think that I'm like, yeah, I'm borderline millennial
Yep,
as well, but I'm definitely,
yep.
I don't identify with that. I don't identify with any generation. I
No,
just,
either. I think it's ridiculous to identify with a generation. It's like,
yeah,
it's about the most
I don't
broad
know.
possible category that you could identify
Yeah,
with.
and
Just
what does that even mean? I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, and the cutoff is completely arbitrary as well.
exactly,
Um,
exactly. It's just it's a way for the media to categorize people
put us
and
into groups. Yep,
put us into groups, pit us
yep,
against each other, etc. It's fun.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Speaking of Reddit, and this is where like a lot of my notes for this episode came from. Is really like just scrolling through your like Reddit posts and things that
Okay.
you've reposted and
Nice.
stuff because you really do. You're quite prolific on there, and I do get a nice little
Yep.
snapshot of kind of like what's interested you over the last 6 to 8 months or
Yeah, yeah.
however long it's been.
Good to
I
see
more
what I
like 6 months.
posted.
Yeah, right. A lot of stuff about certain podcasts that you like to listen to,
Yep.
and you reposted some stuff from like IGN and Eurogamer and stuff like that. In this
Yep.
particular article, I didn't copy paste your comments from this, but it was an article about. Maybe I should link this to you so you can kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's I'm gonna do it on Discord. So it's the title of the article is I had to abandon my game after 4 years and it nearly broke me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, did I leave a comment on this? I remember reading this. I guess I must
yeah,
have commented on it.
yeah. I don't remember what you said, but
Yeah, I see. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So what do you think about this particular story?
I mean,
I'll give a little like brief overview of
yep,
what it is, and then you can tell me like kind of like what you thought. So this is about someone named Adrian Novell, and they are a game designer from Argentina, and they worked on the project Skyrider and the Journey to the Air Citadel, two-player co-op action puzzle platformer for PC and consoles in 2014. And pretty much they poured a lot of time and resources into this. They went to different like developers conferences. They got in touch with publishers and things like that. They made some decisions that ultimately kind of tanked the project because the publisher pulled out pretty late into it, and they
yep.
just kind of lost hope and really like learned a lot of lessons from it. So, what did you think of that whole
Yeah. So when I
story?
was reading through this, like, I could partially relate. Like, like the vast majority of indies spend so much time making their game, and the reality is that 95%. I think the stat I read is that 93% of indie devs make less than minimum wage, which is like obviously quite low, um, especially when you could be doing, I could be doing software engineering instead. Um, so I definitely resonated with that aspect. And for every guy like Adrian Novel here, there's probably, you know, hundreds of others who have gone through the exact same thing, who just, didn't get an article written, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
So yeah, obviously it sucks. I guess it's a bit different for him because from reading the article, he didn't actually even get the game out at all,
No,
which
no.
would have been even worse. Like at the very least, people are playing my game, but he has spent 4 years working on something, and it almost feels like it's all for
Oh
nothing
God.
because no one even played it. So that must
Yeah,
be
only
way
a
worse.
demo. Really, only like a demo.
Yep.
And
I mean, this it
shit.
looks pretty cool. Like I don't know how developed it is, but from the screenshots, it
Yeah.
looks pretty great. Like I wonder if just for closure, he might want to just chuck it up as a free thing on Steam
Mm.
just for the fun of it.
I
But
mean, they seem pretty. Well, he seems pretty content just to have people play the first 5 levels off of his like
mm,
itch.io page there.
yep,
Um, but it's kind of like it kind of ends with the lingering feeling of like, well, maybe if the stars align, we can come back to this project later. And it's
well, yeah, because they did that like twice, I think, didn't they? Or at least once,
yeah,
because they did try to release it in 2014, and then it sort of fell through. Like a publisher said no to them,
yeah,
and then they stopped working. They just didn't even talk to each other.
yeah, for
It's
like
like a team
seven
of three or
months.
four
Yep,
people, right?
yep,
They didn't talk to each other, and then they got back onto it again when the Switch came out.
yep,
So maybe they are sort of saving the code base, and they might try and do it again later.
yeah,
Um, but yeah.
yeah, yep,
Hopefully, though, like, yeah, the lessons that they learned from that, I'm sure they learned a whole bunch of lessons, like not only technical, but also, how to manage expectations and how to deal with failure and
yeah,
all the lessons about actually the crazy amount of work that goes into running a business. And
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the quote
you
from this article that's it's kind of like a good way to close it up is like the iron. He says the irony is the world was finally ready for Skyrider, but we weren't. After years of struggling, of
know,
developing in
yep,
our spare time and trying to scrounge up enough money in order to do it full time, we'd all found solid jobs that we weren't willing to sacrifice for this project. Damn,
yep,
damn, yeah,
yep. Well, they've got solid jobs, and this guy actually seems like he's a pretty good writer, to be honest.
yeah, definitely,
Like,
definitely. So,
yeah,
I mean, like what is it about Gene Shift that you like just couldn't let go? Like was there I don't know if we ever covered this, but like was there ever I mean, you had mentioned actually that if certain things hadn't worked out with you like promoting it, getting people super interested in it, like do you think that if the battle royale meme that you released earlier, which kind of drove the idea behind
yeah.
the main part of what the game is now, if that didn't happen, are you like pretty sure that you wouldn't have finished, or you would have been not working on it anymore?
Hmm. Um, I think that post I wouldn't have had such an impact. The post which I made when I first released on early
Oh,
access,
that's right. Yeah.
that one would have, like, my fate was basically like in the hands of the mods, and the mods actually did delete that one, but because I sent an email, they brought it back on. But because
Right.
that post on that first day hit the front page, I only made like 15,000 bucks or something at first, but that was enough to pay for the next 8 months or something like that. And so that was enough to keep me going.
Yeah.
But it very easily could have just been like a flop and sell like, you know 50 copies or something, which happens to so many other indie games,
Yeah.
and then I wouldn't have been working on it anymore.
Wow.
As for the battle royale post, I think if that one didn't take off, I probably wouldn't have made the game into a battle royale, but I would have still been working on it. I think
Huh.
it just would have taken a different
Yeah.
shape, most likely.
Well, you
Um,
seem to have a pretty good fortitude for like you're willing to operate on like a shoestring budget just to
yeah,
just to keep things going. And
I've been doing this for so long now. I just like I'm just used to not buying stuff. If you don't buy stuff,
Yeah.
you can actually. I don't have a car either. You can,
Oh
you
wow.
can keep your cost of living
Yeah.
quite low. I mean, as low as it is possible in a place like Sydney, but which is quite expensive.
Like,
But
are you
yeah,
are
like
you are you ready to be done with this project?
no, no, no. I mean, what I would
Well, no.
love,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I should reword that because what I mean by done is like done and get it out of early access because like obviously you're
Mm,
gonna be supporting it beyond that, but
yeah, yeah,
like are you're ready to cross that threshold now?
yeah. I am ready to cross that threshold. Like this is like I was saying before. I'm transitioning like mentally into a marketing focus now. So I'm ready to basically say the game in its current form, dev-wise, for an indie game is more than enough. It's got plenty of content, plenty of features. So I don't really need to do anything else on the development. Now I just need to actually sell it and market it. So which is quite nice because I feel like I'm sort of on the home stretch. From now on, all I'm doing is actively working to release the game, pretty much,
Mm,
um, which is nice
yeah,
because when you're in the middle of development and you're thinking, oh, this feature still needs to be added. Like over the last year, I've been adding features which just had to be added, like controller support or Steam friend invites. Like for a battle royale, you need to be able
yeah,
to play with your Steam friends. These sorts of things took a couple of weeks each, and there's a whole bunch of them. And when you're looking at the to-do list and you're like, oh, I have months and months more work before I even can start even trying to sell it. That could be a little bit, I guess, demoralizing.
mm.
But now that that's all done, it's all pretty good. I'm excited to get it out there. I'm really happy with how it's sort of turned out. So
Well,
yeah,
let me give you my feedback on playing this game
yes,
last
please.
week. Yeah,
First.
so I did a stream last week where I was just playing a variety of games and I was like, I was actually felt a little bit I don't know. I felt like it had been way too long since I tried it out and the thing that spurred me into checking out wasn't necessarily like our conversation
Yep.
today. That was part of it, but um, you had all of this work done with the menu system, tutorial, kind of onboarding process for new players. So I want to see how
Yep.
that worked out. And if people are watching on Twitch, which I'll mention this again, like I don't know how many of these live streams we're going to do, but today we're doing one. So if people are watching on Twitch, um, you can see the background video is actually the Gene Shift lobby, just in like a little loop, that little video that
Yep.
I recorded playing on loop. It looks professional. You've got all the requisite things there. You've got your big
Way
plate.
way better than before. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Before it was like so old school.
it was very
Um,
old school. Yes,
yep.
and now,
Which there's like a part of me which like I realize that it's very important to have a professional looking menu and a good first impression is so important. But there's a little like that's a realistic part of me, but the idealistic part of me is like, who really cares about a menu? The gameplay is what matters. But
right?
obviously, no one's going to care about the gameplay if the very first thing they
Do
see is like some retro
yeah,
2010 menu system.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
People once they see other developers, other products reach a certain bar, like reach a
exactly.
certain
Yep.
bar of quality, that's what they're expecting from everybody else. So
Yep.
it's a
Yep.
good thing. It's a good thing. I guess what was the question I was going to ask you regarding that? Oh, I think I lost it. I lost it.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
dang it, it was gonna be good. Let me
uh,
just let me just continue my feedback here, and then maybe I'll think
yep.
of it and circle back. So we went. Well, I played it solo for a little bit, and I was pretty rusty. And one thing that I noticed, the first time I loaded up a game and tried to play, my mouse was being all funky, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like my mouse, I
Uh,
couldn't wrangle it, and I was
yep.
like, I had a controller plugged in.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I had a controller plugged in because I was going to be playing another game that required a controller, and yeah, with a controller plugged in, the mouse control gets all crazy. Um,
That's a good point.
so I so
I
I
should.
so I unplugged
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yep. How long did it take you to figure that out?
it took me a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix that because I have, like, I don't have my controller permanently plugged into my
Right.
PC, but I can imagine that, like you, many other people do, and if their first impression is that they've got this like crazy mouse situation going on,
Yeah.
that's no good.
It
So yeah,
wasn't apparent to me until I like looked over to my left and I saw my Xbox controller had the light on. I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I have my controller's plugged in. Let me try unplugging that.
yeah,
and
yeah,
then everything was totally fine. I didn't
yeah,
immediately like pick up the controller and be like, oh, let me try playing with the controller. So I wanted to play with
yeah,
I wanted to play with mouse and keyboard. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I noticed that
Keyboard mouse all the way.
you've got so battle royale. I guess since it's not just me and you talking, we have an audience too. They're just going to be listening to this. Give a little bit of context for what the
Yep,
mode is from my perspective.
yep,
You join in the game, you drop in, you got kind of like the Halo jump. You drop in. Of course, it's a top-down perspective, so the perspective is different than if you were in first person. But you drop in, and you can actually knife people in the air, which I appreciate. You can knife the other players in the
yep,
air if you can get to them, and it's like a typical battle royale. When you drop in, you find weapons, you kill them, the circle shrinks, but the twist on it is a couple of things. You have the ability to buy weapons. It's round
yep,
based, so winning a round gives you 10 points. The first person to get to 50 points wins. Of course, there's other
yep.
things that rack your score up. Um, you have skills that you can purchase using like how do your skill points
Yeah, so you basically you can loot for skill points.
right,
So
yeah, there's like these little
you can
red
loot for
red
ammo, you can loot for
yeah,
health kits, skill
yeah,
points, or you can just buy skill points. And also, as you level up your account, you can start the game with more skill points as well.
right,
But
yeah,
basically, you get skill points, and then you can just sort of hold Alt to bring up the skills menu, and then just
right.
invest them into whatever skills you've
Mm-hmm.
unlocked so far.
And you do have little notifications when those are available too.
Yep.
The one thing about the when you first join a game, you kind of get like this warm up round where there's like a
Yep.
certain type of weapon that drops a bunch. I thought maybe the warm up round was a little bit too long.
Ah, okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
it was
Yeah, that's
fun.
fair.
It was fun, but I was like, wait, the game hasn't started yet. Like
Yep.
we're basically playing a full match before we
Yep.
actually play the match. Which,
Yep.
if you repeat that a bunch of times, I just wonder, is that warm up?
Yeah.
Is that warm up in every
Yeah, that's fair.
match?
Yeah, it's at the start of every match.
Yeah. I
The
wonder
main
how.
reason why is, yeah, I could totally make that shorter. It actually is already shorter than your typical round. Like most
Right.
rounds are 3 minutes long, and the warm up round I think is 2 minutes long. But I
Yeah.
might just make it 1 minute or something like that.
I thought it was
It's there
good. I thought
because,
it was good. It just felt like it dragged on a little bit too long compared
yeah,
to
no, that's
what I thought
fair
it
for
should
sure.
be. Yeah.
Yep.
No,
It's just
I
there
wonder how
because
other
if you
people feel
have
about that too. Yeah.
different people's computers load at different speeds, so
Yeah.
it just gives you a chance for everyone to get in. So
Yeah.
when
It
the
gives
game
you.
actually starts,
Yeah, it gives you a buffer.
yeah,
I still like the idea of it. It's like
yeah.
having it's like in
It's
other
like the lobby in the
yeah,
battle royales, but you
right.
can actually do stuff.
You can actually do stuff
Um,
now. Yeah, they kind of there used to be like chaos in those lobbies. Going back to the original mod because I was around during like the original kind of battle royale, like the modern battle
yep,
royale mods.
yep,
Um, Now I'm not gonna say that battle royale is like a super like uh original idea. I just think that it was modernized in the sort of like milsim genre through Arma 2 and then
yep,
Arma 3, etc.
yep,
Obviously, it struck a chord with people, but yeah,
for sure.
in those original those original lobbies, it was just a lot of people spamming their mics, and everybody was just like stuck in a circle, you
Yep,
know.
yep, yep.
Yeah, having an actual warm up round. In fact, there was another game, I think Islands of Nine, which didn't do as well, but they had like a gun game in there
Okay.
for their warm up, so that was kind of cool.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, and you get to try out some of the weapons, and you also get to have a little bit of fun. You almost like wish that was like a game mode you could play standalone. like, 'cause
Yeah, for sure.
it's funny. Like battle royale is one of those things. It's almost like almost a throwaway game mode, but not quite. Actually that might be a little bit controversial to say. Like I just think it's pretty simple. Like it's pretty simple, and it's one of those things could almost be like a bonus game. I should say like a bonus game mode
Yep.
for a title, and it's not like the whole game. But
But I guess most game modes really are quite simple. Like cap the rules of capture the flag, which is another classic one,
yeah,
is basically just get their flag, bring it to your flag. Like
yeah,
it's so it's sort of the yeah, the game mode is just like the objective, but then what you build around the game mode
yes,
is what the actual game is. Like
yeah,
Gene Shift is not
exactly.
really about the battle royale. It's more about how you actually fight with all the cars and skills and guns and stuff.
True.
The battle royale is just like just gives a bit of structure because
Right.
a typical death match where it's like first to 50 kills is just a bit boring, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
if you just have this round by round battle royale thing, then it just makes
Well,
things a bit more interesting
it
because you
it
have
could
the
be,
heads up moment and you have the looting
yeah,
experience as well. And yeah,
yeah. It could be super simple, but you could also throw some people who are being super try hard and like trying to like win. Like it depends on how hard the players try to. Like
yep,
if people play like PUBG, there is the casual mode where people just run around and maybe they even like try to win the round by not picking up any guns, or they try to do
yep,
silly stuff. They're driving around honking their horn, and they
yep,
can do whatever they want. It's a sandbox in that way. But you could also throw it into a competitive tournament where people are playing for money, and then everyone's just like camping in houses, and
yeah. It
using
really,
they're using more of the grenades and special features. So like in Gene Shift, like if it could be like this casual thing where people just like run around and play it like a standard battle royale, where they just pick up a gun, go try to find people to kill, and then rinse repeat. Or you could
yep,
utilize more of the game features like the skills, the buy zones that are Counter Strike esque, where you can actually go in and buy the
yep,
weapons that you want. You can buy abilities. Um,
yep.
this is special
Yeah.
items,
So
vehicles,
I've
etc.
I I've definitely designed the game. So I've tried to cater to both the casual and competitive. I've definitely designed the game so that if someone does want to be competitive and wants to like win, they pretty much need to use as much of this stuff as possible.
Right.
So, you want to loot for every last dollar and then you want to spend every last dollar as efficiently as possible. You definitely want to be using skills because they give you an edge. All these sorts of things. I've made sure that cars have an actual tactical purpose, like they're far
Yeah.
better for looting and transporting yourself safely.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, of course, casual. When people play casually, which probably is the majority of people, they can just pick and choose whatever they want.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, as
I
long
yeah
as
I
it's fun
would
to just shoot someone with a gun, like that's
absolutely.
the most important thing.
Yeah, I would caution people if they're going to try out Gene Shift, which by the way, free to play. Look it up.
Yep.
Just look for Gene Shift on Steam. You can find it there. Is
Yeah,
it the same?
currently the free version is you click the demo button on Steam.
Yeah.
So
How does this work? Let's see. So if we go to how do I
it
see the
is
storm?
the free to play model that I'm going to be going into like next month is currently we actually already have that exact same model, but the button's different. So right now you'll click
Okay.
the demo button to play the free
Right.
version. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it so that the base game itself is the free version. There is no more demo anymore.
Okay. Yep.
um, and then you still have the DLC, which
Yeah.
is the DLC. But that'll be way better because right now Gene Shift it's basically a free to play game, but it's not showing in the free to play section on Steam. So there's all this potential traffic and all these players who may want to play the game who just can't find it.
Yeah. So if you just go there, you can find the download button. You just have to scroll down, and then if you want to support the developer, obviously, you know, buy it, and
That would be lovely.
you get a fully featured um uh like co-op campaign that you can play through. Yeah,
Yep.
and some of the other game modes are kind of locked behind that um as well, right? Just battle royale is.
No, they're all free
Oh,
now as
they're all
well.
free now. Okay, I just
Yep.
don't I have a hard time
But
keeping up with that.
yeah, that keeps on changing. That used to be a thing, but then I
Yeah,
realized that's not going to work because realistically, when I go free to play, 95% of the player base is going to be on the free version because
right.
the conversion rate for these sorts of things is, most people don't buy the deluxe edition.
Yep.
Maybe I think 5% would actually be quite optimistic. Maybe it's
Mm,
less, more like 3 or 2%. So the vast majority of people are going to be on the free version,
yep.
which means that if like the conquest mode was restricted to the DLC people, they just wouldn't have anyone to actually play
Mm.
it with. So that sort of had to go free as well.
So what do you think about like other ways? monetizing within Gene Shift to keep the development cycle going along? Is there any other ideas that you have? I don't
Um,
think microtransactions are in your future, but like
no, no, no.
is there anything else like that you have in mind?
The main goal is just, yeah, you can buy the DLC for like 15 bucks. That's going to be the main source of income, and currently the only one planned. Maybe there would be something where you could buy XP to save yourself some time, but that's kind of
Hmm.
controversial.
Yeah, I
Not
don't know
really
about
sure.
that one. That
Yeah,
that definitely I don't know. Like yeah,
I can see people not liking that.
yeah. I mean, if
Um,
anything, like cosmetic things, like already if you buy that the full version, you get you get like a badge next to your name in multiplayer, right? Like
yep,
yeah.
yep,
So people know that you're like kind of like a founder or whatever you want to call it, a
yep,
supporter. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, definitely the people that I feel like it's this way with games that are free to play. I get this feeling when I'm watching people on Twitch. I even get the feeling when I'm listening to podcasts.
yep.
There's like you want to support the person that's making the product, and you do. It's not like you feel guilty, but you're just like, oh, I could throw them 5, 10, $20. Yeah, I'm gonna do
Yep.
that right now. I do it all the time. I started subscribing to some people on Patreon that I like their podcasts, and of course that's a bit more feature rich. There's rewards for it, but a
Yep.
lot of it was just to kind of be in on the inside track of these creators that I really like respect. So
Yeah, I do think that a good chunk of the people who upgrade currently to the full version, who buy the DLC, aren't doing it for like the extra stuff that I give in the game. They're just sort of doing it because they like to support indie developers,
right,
which I really appreciate.
yeah,
I would love to know what percentage of people do it for that reason versus all the other reasons. In
yeah,
fact, I would love to have that information because there's 5 things you get when you buy the full version. Like you get the single player, you get faster XP, you get that little badge thing, you can unlock stuff 5 times faster, and you get some challenges. But I don't know which one of those 5 is driving most of these sales, or the sixth one could just be supporting me as a dev.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know
You
how to
know,
get that
there's that.
information, but
It's a weird thing because unless it was completely data based, where the person answered it on like a survey, if you were just like
yep.
put that question out there on Twitter or through your Discord, what do you think the answer is going to be? It's going to be number 6. Like it's going to be,
Exactly.
it's going to
And
be
that's
the
every single time I've
yeah,
asked this someone, every single time I'm playing a game with someone and I see they've got that little badge next to their
yeah.
name, so I know that they bought it. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I ask like why you upgraded? And then they always say, oh, I just like to support the developer.
Yeah, well, those are going to be the
Maybe
people
they,
that those are going to be the people that are like the most vocal, or the ones who want to support you. The other
yeah,
people, you know, they may have saw a feature or some reason why they bought it, they played it, now they've moved on, and they don't even like care to answer the question anymore. You know?
yep, yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yep,
So yeah, it's the people that stick around. Those are the ones that are going to be vocal and help you out the
yeah,
most. Anyway, you know, with
for
feet.
sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
of course, I massively appreciate it when people do that. And yeah,
Huh.
yeah, we just have to see when it goes free to play. Maybe I'll be able to
Yeah.
get more data.
Yeah.
Um,
Huh.
but I find it fascinating going down, like preparing for this free to play move. It's quite an interesting, like a psychological experiment of trying to find the right balance between what should you and what should you not include in the free version.
Hmm.
Because you could give everything. If you give too much away in the free version, then people just have no incentive to upgrade. But if you don't give enough, then it's just it's really unfair.
Hmm.
But there's no like objective way to measure like what the right balance should be. um, yeah, I find it's like an interesting puzzle to try and crack, like a psychological puzzle of what what is the best model. There's so many ways you could design it.
Yeah.
But I'm quite happy with what I've got now. I pretty much just copied Fortnite actually.
Well, and if it was Fortnite, you'd have to add in some maybe like custom skins, some custom like emotes, like things that people
Yep.
could, yeah, like little taunts or something that people could do.
Yep.
Yeah, little
But
animations.
Fortnite's model is basically everyone can play for free, but if you get the battle pass, then you get extra challenges,
Oh yeah.
and you get and as a result of the XP and coins you get from those challenges, then you can use those to get more cosmetics, which is
Yeah.
sort of what Gene Shift's doing, except instead of cosmetics, you get like a new weapon or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah,
Huh. I just don't
yeah, it's-
know. I think that the motivation is going to be just the people that feel not obligated, but they just feel motivated to help because they're like, damn, this is cool. I can't believe it's free. You know?
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
It'll be the people that pick it up and play it more than once. You know,
for
they're
sure,
they're
definitely, yeah,
they're gonna be like, oh, tell all their friends like, hey, we're gonna get together this weekend and we're gonna play some free to play games, or we're just gonna play a bunch of Gene Shift. You know?
yep,
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be those
yep.
people. Um, now, huh, we're gonna. It's hard to like because there's so many like topics within Gene Shift um, to discuss. But I'm gonna kind of go into some other notes that I have here.
Yeah, sure
Um,
thing.
I'm not sure. I think that we're gonna stay within video games because I do want to
Yep.
ask you about the situation with the wildfires, but
Oh, yeah.
that's like a complete left turn. There was
Yep.
this you mentioned earlier about Half Life Alex, and I pulled a quote from a Reddit comment, and just want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yep.
Here's what you said. You said, "I really, really hope Half Life Alex sells a shitload of units. If this game is successful and gets other AAA studios to look into VR, then the floodgates will open and we'll enjoy a whole new level of immersive gaming."
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if anyone is like, because right now VR is still it's
niche
quite niche. Yeah. It's definitely not mainstream.
for
But if there
multiple
was any
reasons.
game, yeah, I mean, it's kind of antisocial on VR, and it's also expensive. And yeah, I mean, but if there's any game which is going to be able to really crack it open, it has to be Half-Life. Like Half-Life, as far as I mean, VR obviously works best from the first-person point of view, so it's not going to be an RTS or anything like that. And as far as first-person games go, like first-person story-based games, like Half-Life is by far the biggest, most anticipated, um, and and yeah, and of course Valve also owns Steam, so they have the ability to just put Half-Life in front of billions of or millions of eyeballs. So it's going to be pretty big when it comes out. That's for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of is it kind of like you feel like it's kind of like make or break for VR in the next. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there's a Walking Dead title that looks really freaking cool. I don't know if you've seen that, but I
Um,
it doesn't have the same weight that Half Life has. But
yeah, I mean that's the main thing. There are probably games available for VR now which are more fun than Half-Life is going to be, but in terms of getting people to actually care and be excited, like you just need that massive name recognition.
yeah,
You need those huge blockbuster AAA games to start coming out in VR, and then people will switch.
huh.
Um,
I mean the price for the hardware needs to come down. Let's be honest.
for sure. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, what do you think about this too? Like you mentioned, a whole new level of immersive gaming. Do you see any concerns with like a new uh, like the level of immersiveness of VR?
It's like being too immersive.
Yeah.
I mean, there is that whole idea where once you've had, once you've had like the next level of something, it's hard to go back to the previous level.
Yep.
Like it's like coffee, right? Like once you go down that path and you become a coffee fan and you start to brew your own coffee in the morning just right, then you can never have instant coffee ever again. Well, it may be the same. Like once you play a really good VR game, you're like the quality, the amount of dopamine that gets released in my brain when I play VR is just way better than
Yeah.
anything a 2D game's ever going to do ever again.
I mean,
Um,
I'm thinking more along yeah, that is something for sure. I'm thinking more along the lines of something like imagine if the level of addiction somebody has for like World of Warcraft. Imagine if
yep.
they were immersed within a VR
Yeah. I see.
setting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well.
because like you're in front of your monitor and you're looking at it, that's the level of immersion I like. Like that's
Yep.
enough. The room still kind of melts away, but if you have the
Yep.
helmet on, like
You're really lost in that
yeah,
world. Yeah, I mean, there's so many science fiction movies about how,
Yeah,
eventually we're just gonna stop living in real life.
yeah.
And we just spend like 90% of our time in the VR world,
Mm-hmm.
which could be, it could theoretically be better that way.
Huh.
Like if people found a way to make it work, but could also be way worse.
Well, yeah.
Um,
There's that Ray Bradbury. I think it's Ray Bradbury or somebody. I might be getting that wrong, but it's the song "The Veld" by Dead Mouse is based on that. Was
okay.
based on this short story, which I might be butchering it, but who cares? Um,
Yep.
it's these kids that they're living in this like smart house from the future somewhere, and they are able to go through this like VR experience where they're like in this like savannah in Africa with all these animals and stuff, and they become so immersed in it and they love it so much that like when their parents want them to leave, they like reject that notion and they get their parents like trapped in there, and like
Uh,
their parents get eaten by lions or something.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Um, yeah. It's very interesting as well because you know how whenever there's like, I don't know, a mass shooting or something,
yeah,
many politicians will start blaming video games, saying video
exactly.
games are the fault. Like that to me seems like it's bullshit. But I could see that argument being even more like relevant once you have VR, because at a certain point it becomes hard to determine like to tell the difference between what's real and fiction. I mean, you see these videos where there's like some guy who's been playing VR for like 2 hours, and he's so into it that he'll just like try to jump over a fence. Like he's running along, and in the game there's like a fence he's supposed to jump over, but then he just forgets he's even in real life, and he just jumps
Yeah.
over nothingness and just stacks it on the ground.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's just gonna be crazy, and like what will be the technology after VR as well?
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
Yeah, and we've
like direct implants into the brain.
that's what I was saying, man. That's what I was about to say is like we become more and more integrated with technology. And if people don't think that we are already, just like look in your
Yep.
pocket. What's in your pocket right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Your
what's
phone. Yep.
you're inexorably connected to that thing. Like
Yep.
most people will feel, myself included, if you like lose your phone, you just like instantly feel like a loss. Like you're like
Yeah.
you're just like
Yeah.
you're
It's
like
it's crazy.
feels like you lost a part of your lost a limb or something. You know, it's
Yep.
like you don't know what to do without it because it contains all of this.
Yep.
It's so personal. It's like everything.
Are
It's
you
everything to you.
are you are you concerned about that aspect at all? Like, do you think it's
Ugh,
healthy for people to be that sort of dependent
it
on
scares.
their phones?
Well, I mean, I just don't think you can roll. I don't think you can roll it back. Like it's just it's too late.
Yeah.
Like it's too late.
Yeah.
And now that there's industry built around it, there's more incentive to get people more addicted to these things.
Oh, for sure.
But I
Yep.
mean, it's more the apps within the phone because I don't know. We were talking right before the podcast about my mixer and how I can maybe plug my phone into it to like take phone calls, and you were saying like, oh yeah,
Yep.
phones are like a dying technology. The actual phone call is dead. Like
The calling. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, it's like okay, boomer. You know, it's like one of those things,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yep.
It's like
Yeah. It's
it's like an affront if you give someone a phone call. But anyway, yeah, I
It
don't know,
is. I
man.
feel I feel like somewhere in the last, I don't know, 5 years, it went from like the phone call was still the appropriate way to contact someone because it's more personal, to now everyone's just agreed, I much prefer to just get a message so I can
Yeah,
deal with it at my own
yeah,
time. Like the
yeah,
asynchronous communications.
because these streams of communication, they used to be like one, and then there was two. It was phone calls, and then it was phone calls and texts. Well,
Yep.
you could actually include letters in that before that too. You know,
Yep.
we used to send letters back and forth, and then you had email,
Yep.
and then text messaging, and then now social media, and then now like dating apps
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
and like other apps, you know, like TikTok and Snapchat and stuff like that. You know, all these things at once. It's like, of course, it's going to be annoying when you get a phone call because it's like, oh, what am I going to miss while I'm taking this phone call? It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
what are you gonna miss while you're not taking that phone call? You're gonna like miss out on a cool conversation, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, or
I mean,
maybe it's not a cool conversation. Maybe it's an important conversation or something that you need to have with somebody.
Yep.
Or maybe more relevant in the U.S. or maybe it's just a robocall. People are trying to here's the people that are in the U.S. will
Like some
understand that someone,
company.
yeah, it'll be like, hey, your social security number has been compromised. Please contact us.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's been happening.
is that a thing you get? Like it's
Oh
a
yeah,
some scam.
all day,
Right. Okay.
and they even spoof your phone number to match your area code, so it looks like it's coming from a local number, and
Right.
that's really why most people don't answer their phone nowadays, just because they're afraid of robocalls.
Ah,
Um,
really?
but
Yeah. I mean, I actually quite like the way it's sort of evolved amongst friends and family. Is that if you only receive a phone call if it's an emergency,
okay,
and then I like do well, I will
yeah,
always pick it up if someone calls me, but like I know it's more likely to be an emergency. Whereas if the phone call indicates some level of importance, I
yeah,
guess,
I
whereas a
guess so.
text is just like, yeah, respond when you need to, kind of thing,
Hmm.
which works pretty well, I think.
Yeah,
But
it's efficient if we use them how they're intended for sure. Um,
yep,
but when we cut one off completely, then it yeah.
yep,
The thing about phones, I think, is that we've gone beyond the level of concern and we've moved into just acceptance because
mm,
like you couldn't go without one now. It's required.
yep, pretty much.
You couldn't have a job if you just had a landline phone. Like you would be
Yeah, yeah,
you
exactly.
would be expected to have this for not only like friends and family, but just like your business. And like let's say you own your own business and you have clients, like they're expecting that you have somewhere where you can be contacted all the time.
Yep. If you want to do something like I don't know, open up a new bank account or something like
Yeah.
that,
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, that's true
you know,
too. And
it's like
we
it's
need
no
it
longer an
for
optional field.
yeah, we need it for two-factor authentication, and we need it for all these things. So it's like this
Yep.
essential tool that evolved
Yep.
from something that was really seen, like it went from something that was literally disconnected from our bodies and it was on the wall in my
Yep.
house anyway. It was on the wall in like a central location, and that was our main hub for communication, but we were only connected to it when we needed it, and now we're like constantly looking at it.
Yep. For sure.
It's
I
so
guess
crazy. Yeah.
we're mostly just looking at the at social media.
Yep.
It's just yeah,
And
social media is amazing. It's in the last 10 years, like the human experience has completely changed in just 10 years. Like out of the
wild.
hundreds of thousands of years that humans have been basically human before we evolved, from
Yeah.
chimps and all that sort of stuff. In the last 10 years, like this tiny little sliver of time, our complete life has been changed based on social media and the internet.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
I mean that
Um,
you know the sorry, I think I interrupted you.
oh no, no, I was just saying like, things are accelerating so fast. Like what will be in 10 years time from now, what will be the next thing then?
That's the scary part. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, it's just
And
going to keep getting faster and faster. And it's kind of like playing a giant experiment on humanity. And no one really knows how it's going to work out. Like there are
mm,
all sorts of benefits, of course, to having a phone,
yeah.
but they're now finding things such as um, like people like depression and anxiety is way higher now than it's been in a long time because it's very closely linked to how much time you spend on social media.
Mm,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
so
I turned
big
off
experiment to be playing.
I turned off all notifications for social media.
Yeah,
I only go into it and look at it like on my time. I because
yeah, that's good.
having this I found that having the notifications on my phone, it it caused me to look at it more, and it caused me to actually have yeah, some little levels of kind of depressive feelings when uh, even though like I don't I'm not obviously not trying to be like a social media star. I'm not like somebody who like takes self and there's nothing wrong with this by the way, but just
Yep,
posting a bunch of pictures, virtue signaling, all these other things that people do to try to get attention. Like
yep,
I'm me and I'm trying to like have conversations. I'll post memes and stuff. I'll have fun with it. I'll do whatever I want, but I don't have like one goal for it. Like
yep,
and
yeah,
maybe to my detriment, I haven't done enough and I'm just not that great at social media and like knowing how
yep.
to structure tweets and stuff to promote myself. I always felt kind
So
of
you're saying that
yeah,
you follow some other like podcasters or whatever, and you see they're constantly spamming their stuff, and there's like a feeling of like, I should be doing the
I
same, I
I
guess,
maybe
but I don't
should
really,
be
I
doing
don't
more.
really think
Yeah, I don't know what to
it doesn't
do,
feel
honestly.
genuine.
I don't know what to do, but
I, I'm in the same sort of boat with marketing my game. Like I feel like, yeah, it like I know I'm gonna have to start every single day posting about my game on Twitter, um, which I guess is actually good because as a result of doing that, you found out that I had a new tutorial. So there are
exactly.
benefits to
Yeah,
doing this,
exactly.
and this is why obviously everyone who's successful in these areas is doing this.
Yep.
But it's just I think it's just like a thing you have to get used to. I,
Yeah,
I, I was I was talking more about like I don't know. You imagine you're like a 16-year-old girl, and you go onto Facebook and you see a picture of some girl, one of your classmates at the beach, and you see another picture of another one of your classmates at some awesome lookout or whatever. Like you're always seeing the top 1% of everyone else's life, um, and then you're like, oh, how come I'm not at the beach? But
yeah.
obviously you've got stuff to do.
Yeah, man. You see these idealized versions of people because that's what they want to express. I've actually made a point to mention like things that things that are a bit more bit more real. Like if I'm having a bad
Okay.
day or something, I don't always do
Oh,
it,
that's good.
but like I'm like a more honest feed
Yeah,
that than
that would
like
be
yeah.
great to see if everyone actually did that. And it's just like, here's a picture of my breakfast. It's like
I
most
mean,
mundane stuff.
we've kind of evolved past that, but I think that the conversations around mental health and that have increased in the past. Sometimes honestly, I do feel that people are even like attention trying to grab attention. They're I don't even it, but you can't say that someone's like faking a condition, but they're kind of doing it the wrong way. They're kind of doing it in a way that maybe they weren't
Oh, like
intending, but it does come off as
looking
like
for
it's
sympathy
like
or something.
they're constantly like there's like a call to action in their tweet where they're like share like this post, or they're like make sure that you post a button,
Okay.
post some reaction to it, etc.
Yeah,
So
I see.
it goes beyond the point of like
Yep.
raising awareness for the thing that they're doing, or maybe like relating to other people that feel the same way. So yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
basically I have mixed emotions
It's
about all of
basically
it.
it's just it strikes you as being inauthentic, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely,
Which is
and
kind of a shame because like, you know, if you pride yourself on being an authentic person, but you see that the way to like if you have you got your podcast, the way to the top or whatever to more success is to do these sort of tactics, like always have a call
yes,
to action at the end of
yes,
every single tweet. Like that really does cheapen any sort of meaningful conversation.
right.
Like
You know,
it would be so ridiculous to be like,
the,
yeah, it's like, "Oh, I had a really bad today, hit like to subscribe," or something like that.
yeah, it's not so extreme. It's just like it seems like some people are so used to that it just comes out that way all the time, and
Yep.
it's just like the reason why I'm on Twitter is to, for one, like keep up on news for games, even like just any artist that I follow, and it's to discover. It really is to like to discover other people, that things that my friends are interested in, and
Yep.
really like the last thing is like to promote myself, but
Yep.
that's like I said, that's to my detriment because I just haven't been that great at it. With this podcast, like I want to like get better at marketing it when I'm like super confident and like when I really like want to get it. We had this, I don't know if we talked about it after we started, but uh once I have a few more episodes banked, I might go more into that mode, because really
Yep.
it's out there everywhere. Like you can find this on any platform,
Yep.
and we're going to be doing more clips now. I'm actually going to be doing more, and the clips are going to be really the only thing that's going to be found in video form going
What do you
forward.
mean? What do you mean by clips?
Just like shorter bits of
So like
conversations. Yeah,
like a highlight or something like that.
yeah, it's like the length of a Twitch highlight, if you want to think of it that way. It could
Yep.
be 2 minutes to 10 minutes, somewhere in that
Yep.
range.
Gotcha. Yep.
Whereas like the full episode will be 2 hours or so.
Yep.
I didn't find the video versions of these podcasts to be that relevant for people. People would mostly be consuming the audio versions anyway.
Yep.
But the And if I had more time, I would like to do a more produced version of a clip where I like make it like a standard YouTube video where I pull up relevant graphics or things that flash on the screen while people are watching it. But I don't know when that's ever going to happen. You know, like you, like when when you're a one man band doing everything
Of
yourself
course.
and
Yep.
working. I'm working full time and finishing a degree at the same time. You know,
Yep.
my time is
Oh
limited.
well. Okay. Yep. Yep.
So I'm in my last
Yeah.
semester.
Exactly. You
Um,
just have to prioritize, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. I think the
yeah.
video for podcasting is just not as important
Mm.
as
I've seen
yeah,
it.
just the
I've
good
yeah,
conversations
yeah. I've seen a lot of
and
people
also the
that
marketing.
yeah, I've seen a lot of people that do you know a similar format for a podcast, and you know you see they have the videos for a little bit and then they just kind of drop off. Even though those are like super successful podcasts, they
Yep.
just like wanted to have everything at first, and then things that aren't as in demand. Like if it becomes more in demand, if a bunch of people say, "Hey, you know, I was watching your episodes on YouTube and they went away. Like what's going on?" You know, like if I ever get that, then of course, yeah,
Yep.
of course, I have the audio. I can easily put together a video. It's just that it was taking up a lot of time and a lot. It was taking up like a decent bit of time to just to render a like a 3 hour video, and then the bandwidth. It's like a lot of bandwidth to upload those videos too. Um,
Yeah. Of course.
I'm
Yeah.
on limited bandwidth too, so
Yep.
yeah,
Right.
it really wasn't quite worth it. But it's not that I wouldn't do it in the future. But yeah, like you said, like the more important things are just getting high quality guests on like yourself. Like you have a unique story and I enjoy hearing your insights and, you know, like marketing, etc. That and both of us are kind of like it's an essential part of things, but it's not the most fun part. Um
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I feel like though that there is a if you can trick your brain into enjoying it, then it it, be, it becomes fun. And
Huh.
that's I'm sort of trying to do that at the moment. Like some people love marketing. Natural born salesmen love marketing because they love the thrill of the chase and they like to interact with people and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, I come from a coding background, so I'm more about the maths and logic side of things, which doesn't really translate too well for marketing. But I'm trying to reframe because I know I'm gonna be doing this for quite a while now. For months, I'm going to be just in marketing mode. So I want to try to almost trick my brain into enjoying the process as much as possible. I'm still experimenting with ways to do that, but it could be things like, I don't know, setting yourself little rewards for doing a certain amount of tweets per day,
Huh.
that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I'm still exploring different ways to do this, but if you can basically reframe the idea in your mind into like this is actually a really cool thing, I'm excited about my product and I want to get it out to the world, and I'm looking forward to the comments I'll get when people listen to
Hmm.
the podcast, or in my case, play the game.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can make yourself more motivated to do it.
Yeah. Oh, just going back and listening to old episodes gets me motivated to do stuff, you know?
For
Um,
sure. Yep.
I think it's like the gap in between actually making progress on things is what my brain like forgets how much I enjoy it.
Yep.
So when it comes to yeah marketing and stuff, it's like I need the product to show. So I'm just not as good at and you're gonna have to give me some more photos for Instagram, I think, or something. I'm not
I
sure.
like screenshots.
Yeah, maybe screenshots, maybe some. I'm not sure if you've been on any trips recently. I was gonna ask you about that a
All
little bit
right.
later, but
Yep.
yeah, we'll have to do that. So before I forget, I want to know, and this is where the left turn happens. Like, what's been
Cool.
happening? Because you're in Sydney.
Yep.
Like, what's been happening with the situation with wildfires? And like, give people like an overview of maybe like I don't even know how it started, like how it started and like where we are now and the impact that it's had
Yeah.
on
Okay.
the
So
country.
so Australia has always had bushfires in the summer. It's just like a part of being in Australia. Like every summer, you're just chilling, and then you might wake up one morning and you'd smell like a bit of smoke in the air, and you'd be like, "Oh, there must be a bushfire on." But you don't really think much more of it than that. But this year, it has been like a whole other level. Like speaking from my experience here in Sydney, we have it's kind of good at the moment because we just had a huge amount of rain. But up until about a week ago, and for like or 3 months before that, it's just been non-stop smoke all over Sydney. Like you wake up every morning. Um, I don't want to go. I'm trying to get into jogging and stuff. I'm trying to get fit, like get my cardio up, but I don't want to even go for a jog in the park because I'm thinking that the health detriment to my lungs is worse than the benefit of the actual jog itself. Um, but anyway, so there's been Sydney has just been covered in smoke, like worse levels than like the smog in like Beijing or something like that. Um, and yeah, we it was just dry for weeks after weeks after weeks. It finally rained massively, and so this morning I looked out and it was actually pretty clear air, which is good. And most of the the fires have gone down at the moment compared to what they were. But if we have another 2 weeks of hotness, they'll easily just pick up again. It's not like I personally am, running from fires or anything like that. Like, I don't think too many people have died. A shitload of koalas have died though, but yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Um, lots of people have been talking about it. Like, it's just a topic of conversation all the time in every single social circle I'm in.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the fires. So yeah,
Like
it's been a big one.
what population centers have been the most affected by it?
It's been mostly. It largely depends on the way the wind blows.
Okay.
Which Sydney, I believe, has had it worst over the last couple of months
Right.
because we have what's called the Blue Mountains, which is to the west, and the air is blowing all that smoke directly onto Sydney. But the Blue Mountains is just like a huge amount of um, eucalyptus trees, pretty much, and yeah, they've just all been. It's all yeah. I mean, there's still trees there, of course, but a
Yeah.
huge chunk has just been burnt up,
Yeah,
and
you can see the heat map. At least this is on BBC. There, it
mm,
shows like a peak around the beginning of the year, and then like it's been like way less since, but it's
yep,
still there's still quite a bit of activity, at least
yep,
in the Sydney
yeah.
area, and overall like right now,
my
like
um my
yeah,
brother-in-law, we were up on our family holiday at the start of the year, and on our second day of the holiday, my brother-in-law, who's in the army reserves, he was like called for an emergency, you know, fire help type thing. So he had to like come back to Sydney and cancel the holiday just to go help with the fires. So
wow,
we were all
it
bit, my sister was a bit upset about that, but
oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean it is what it is. Like somebody has to do that. It's a kind of a thankless job. Like
Indeed, yeah,
in a way, like if people knew that you did, they'd be like, "Oh, thank you so much for doing that." But like, yeah, it's you're putting your sticking your neck on the line for everybody in that
yeah.
situation. Yeah, it's but
I mean, I'm hoping that as a result of all this, people kind of remember that we had these level of fires, and like I don't know how much they are due to things like climate change and all that, but it's always nice to have some concrete evidence that or a bit of an insight into how fucked up things could become
yeah.
if if you're not careful with this, yeah, overheating. So
What have you heard about kind of the next few years? Like, what's the outlook for things moving
in terms of
forward?
like,
Yeah. Like
well,
could
I don't know,
is this same
in
cycle
terms of
going to is it going to happen? Is it just going to depend on the weather, or is it going?
in terms of the actual bushfires, you mean?
Yeah,
In terms of bushfires, like there will always be bushfires every summer. This has been a particularly hot one and made extra worse because we just had this crazy long period of no rain. I guess next year could be better, but and it most likely statistically will be better than this year. But the general trend, if you look at decade by decade, is definitely getting worse and worse and worse. This year was a particularly bad one, which hopefully will serve as like a bit of a yeah. If you go up that, I'm watching the stream now. There was like that yeah huge amount of smoke, which is just
yeah.
being
You can
blown so
see.
far.
Well, what we're looking at is a picture from NASA, like a satellite photo, kind of the smoke plumes from the
Yep,
wildfires. It's crazy because it just looks like ash,
yep,
just
yep,
ash and soot and smoke in
yep.
the air that's just thick, and you can see it from freaking space, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So we've just been chilling out in that for the last couple of months.
Yeah, and you can
Um,
see how how the plumes of black carbon have traveled more than 7,000 miles from the fire,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. We like my balcony. I'm just looking at it now. It's got this sort of thin layer of ash all over it. Um, yeah.
wow.
So yeah, the fires have been definitely more severe this time than any time in
Hmm.
my life. I think any time ever actually. But
Wow,
yeah,
this is
hopefully they are
interesting.
coming to an end for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, from the just the zoomed out view of it, like the peak was sometime in like the at the
Start of January or something.
yeah, and then now they've gone. If you look at it now, it's just like a few dots here and there. But I mean,
Yep,
we have what we would call like forest fires in that here in the U.S.
yep,
and the season is in the summer, of course, and
yep.
they'll be pretty severe, but then they'll die down pretty quickly. But I mean, they get scary when they get close to cities and start threatening people's
Yeah,
homes, like it's happened in California, in other
yep.
places. Yeah, where actually like rich people's homes end up getting burned because they build them in ridiculous places, and
Of course, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
not. And by the way, it's not just rich people's homes that gets burned, but those are the ones that
yeah.
kind of
Just
kind of
anyone
kind of get.
who's out there
Yeah.
amongst the trees.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Fortunately, most like the um the fire service here in Australia has been doing a pretty damn good job of keeping people's houses okay, or at least people keeping people alive. Considering how much damage and destruction was done, I think remarkably few people actually died. I don't know the
Yeah.
actual number, but it's
Yeah.
not too
Well,
many.
what do you think about the media coverage? Do you feel like locally it was done? um I don't know, like was it done like was there enough attention being paid to it, at least locally?
Um, yeah, I would say so, to be honest. Like, it was on the news all the time
Yeah.
because it was all that anyone was talking about. It's just like, especially in the peak of it, people just couldn't believe that this uh, this streak of smoke was just non-stop.
Yeah. What about
It took me like 2 weeks to really care. Like,
huh?
my girlfriend from the Netherlands, she is used to much cleaner air.
Oh
So
yeah.
she was like, Ben, make sure you close all the doors when you're working at home today because it's bad for your lungs. I was like, ah, we always get bushfires. But then, week after week after week, I was like, oh my God,
It
this is
starts to
like
wear on
actually,
you. Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Or then I realized that this was just an unusual event, not just
Hmm.
like your standard summer burn. But
It
yeah,
seems like it didn't get enough attention in the international press. That like some celebrities found it necessary to raise attention for it, and not even like in like a virtue signaling sense, just in like, hey, you guys, like these charities and that need your help because this many like billion animals are are being affected by this. And yeah,
yep,
it took some people to actually kind of speak out on behalf versus like people coming to that naturally. Like it just there was other news stories. I forget which other ones were going on at the same time, but it just kind of got overshadowed by other things that weren't seemingly
yeah.
as
Well, it's
important.
a bit like those fires that were down in Brazil in the Amazon as well.
Yeah,
Like they were raging. Are they still going? I don't know. I haven't heard
I
about them
don't
for
know. Yeah, I
ages,
don't know
but
much about that.
they were raging for such a long time. But just doesn't get much coverage.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess there's only so much that someone can,
Yeah, I guess
if you
so.
don't actually live in Australia, there's not too much you can do. I guess you could donate to charity,
Just
but
donate to charity. Like what are
yeah,
some good charities that you know of that are helping down there?
I've got no idea to be honest.
Not sure. Not sure.
I don't know about actual charities. I think we just
Yeah.
have the government doing its job.
Yeah, I would say
Um,
people should go if they're like thinking about donating, like go and do your research on the charity itself and see how much money is going to actually help people. If you
yep.
can drill down to a local charity that's like just doing things that like boots on the ground, that's probably the best way to do it rather than these huge organizations that like Red Cross and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're gonna help, but it's gonna go in a big pot, and it's not necessarily
Mm, yep.
gonna directly impact things. If you want to make the most impact, you can act locally. Which the way to do that would be to find someone that lives there, someone that's a charity that's actually in the area that you want to help. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, it's tricky business finding effective charities.
yes, yeah.
Um,
Only until like the last 5 or so years when I started kind of I started looking into them when like Extra Life for is a big thing on Twitch where it that benefits children's hospitals, and
okay.
through that I started to hear little rumblings about other charities that Extra Life is great, by the way, because you choose the local or wherever children's hospital you want to benefit, and all of
Mm,
it goes towards that. But like I started
yep.
looking at like these larger charities, started hearing about, and I was like, what? Like Wounded Warrior Project and others that like
Yep.
they've spent a ton of money on like marketing and that, and how much of it is actually going to help veterans or whoever else they're benefiting. It's like, well, a percentage, like a percentage is
Yep.
going, like, what is that percentage? It's good to know what that percentage is before you actually put your money towards it.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think the percentage on these big ones is quite low,
Yeah.
but that could still be okay if the
Yes.
rest of it is purely based on marketing,
Mm-hmm.
because then that ultimately
That,
results in
yeah,
the
it's
largest number of dollars being
it's a
donated.
self-perpetuating thing. Like the more marketing, the more money that's coming in. So, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so we've got a few other things to talk about here.
Oh, yep.
On the subject of travel, like the last time that we talked, you had, I think the place that you visited, you went to the Netherlands, I
That's
think,
right.
last year, right?
Yep, that's right.
And you
And
also
also
Morocco.
Morocco as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't done a trip since then. That was only 8 months ago,
Yeah, right.
and
So
we're trying to do like maybe one a year.
okay.
But I won't be able to do any sort of travels until I've seen this whole marketing push through with my game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like part of the reason why I want to do this sort of a job is because I can just do it from anywhere in the world just with my laptop. So it
Yeah.
has huge freedom. But at the same time, at certain key moments, like when you're actually about to, release a game, I can't do anything but, just spend every single day working on it, and then
Yeah.
afterwards make sure
Do
I
you
support it, make sure the servers don't go down, that
do
sort of
you
thing.
yeah, do you see yourself as possibly, well, you're a bit more settled in your life now, but do you see yourself ever going back to that kind of like digital nomad lifestyle? Is that something you could
Yeah,
ever
totally,
yeah, totally.
totally.
Yeah.
Yep. My girlfriend and I were applying for her visa in Australia, so that's a like a 2 or 3 year process. So we have to stay in Australia until that gets approved. But whenever that happens, maybe within 6 months or whatever, then depending on how things go with my game financially, um, we may, yeah, we may, she may quit a job and we might just go
Wow.
on an adventure somewhere.
Is that
Like,
something that she, like, is travel kind of like a big priority for her too? Like you guys are kind of both in the same
yeah,
same mindset there?
yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
met while traveling, and we've done all these travels together since then.
Yeah.
And she works as a UX designer, so she has
That's
skills
right.
in,
Yeah.
if we want to start our own business, maybe after I'm done with the game, many years from now, if we want to start, making our own website or apps or whatever, her
Mhm.
UX skill is going to be
Huh.
invaluable. So,
Yeah, she was
yeah,
she kind of had some opinions about Gene Shift and kind of got you
yeah,
uh
yeah. She got the reason why my menu that we're looking at right now is actually half decent is because she was like, this old
yeah.
old thing's just no good.
Wow.
We got to
Yeah.
fix that up.
No, it's so vastly improved. And I feel like saying that is kind of like throwing shade at the old one, but it just is what it is. Like it's just that much. It's like much more modern looking now
Yeah,
than
I
it
mean,
was.
and
Yeah.
like the old menu, like I have known for years that it was shitty, and I've always wanted to do it, but yeah, as a one-person team, I'm like, well,
Mm,
is that the most important thing, or is it more important
do
to fix
you
this massively critical bug right now
like
that, you
how
know,
do you keep yourself organized? Do you have like a something like a Trello? I'm not sure if you know what Trello is. Like, do you have
I do, yeah, yeah,
like a
yeah.
whiteboard or something? Yeah.
I'm using a thing called TickTick. I
Okay.
used to use a thing called Wunderlist, but it's basically the same sort of thing as Trello. So I've just got whenever people make posts in the Discord, like a suggestion, I would just chuck it into a incredibly large and growing suggestions list, which I'll never ever actually get to finish.
Yeah.
But that's all there.
At least it's
I
somewhere
most
documented.
It's documented for sure. I've got a list of bugs. Um, but then that's like on the small scale, but also on the big scale, you have the more overarching plan, which is basically just like 2019 was roughly polishing the game up and then making it look professional, and then 2020 is going to be marketing and releasing it. So, um, but yeah, yeah, I sort of do things on a month by month basis mostly. Like I try to release a new version of the game each month, and that is the sort of time frame where
Hmm.
I'll think of what features need to be added and which ones won't make it the cut and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite
I
quite a
guess being a one person team, you do need to be you need to keep your thoughts organized somehow because you're no one else is really keeping you accountable except yourself.
yeah.
Ultimately,
Well, the guys on Discord kind of in a way keep me accountable, which I
yeah.
really appreciate because they're watching my every move, you know what I mean? And
Mm,
they're the ones constantly pointing out bugs and suggestions, and they're like, why, when is this new version going to come out and all that sort of stuff. Um, so yeah, if anyone was to keep me accountable, it'd probably be them. They
mm,
also are the people who keep me motivated as well.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, largely like there's a lot of the guys on Discord, for example, they are really, really good at helping me make the game more fun because that's what they care about. But they aren't necessarily so good at helping me run the business. You know what I mean? Like they
Exactly.
don't care how much
Yeah.
money I make;
No.
they just want a fun game. And of
Yeah.
course, that makes perfect sense. But when it comes to the business and marketing side of things, and like how am I actually going to generate sales to make this my job, then it's all me pretty much. And then I have
Yeah.
to think, well, okay, you know, yeah,
Well,
how am I going to allocate my time and all that?
hmm,
Um,
of course. I want to circle back to travel again, places you
yep.
traveled. You know, after after we had that episode, it was like maybe even like months later, and I'm big into like true crime and
Okay.
documentaries around that. And I believe there was a story in Morocco of these
Two girls.
yeah.
Yeah, who got their head chopped off or something, or
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
they had traveled
yeah,
there alone, and
yeah. We heard about that like a week after we bought our tickets.
did we talk
um,
about that before? I don't remember, but
I'm not
I don't
sure,
think
but
so. I don't think so. Like, what do you think about traveling to places like that that are like seen as like maybe dangerous to like go there?
I mean, what I really think is that while awful things happen all over the world, if you look at the statistical chance of it happening to you, it's just basically fine.
Right.
Like, you know, it's always like that. Whenever there's like some awful thing, like a plane crash, everyone starts freaking out about planes, despite them being, scientifically
Yeah.
shown.
It would be.
Countless evidence shows that they are by far the safest way to travel.
I mean,
But people are more focused on
yeah.
the story than the actual data behind it,
It
I
would be
guess.
like being scared to go in an elevator, or even like on an escalator or something. It'd be like the same thing.
Yep,
Like,
yep,
I can't say statistically, apparently.
yep. But
Statistically, I can't say it.
statistically,
Statistically, wow. Um,
nice.
yeah, when I try to say it, I
Um,
can't say it.
Yeah. But having said that, though, so even though I didn't feel any sort of concern for my own safety, it was still interesting because other people had heard about this as well. And we were talking, we did this like a tour um, through Morocco, and we had a couple conversations about it. And it's interesting to see how it affects people. Like, I know that when I went to Egypt many, many years ago, this was just after they'd had the Arab Spring and
Yeah,
all the riots and stuff over there. And apparently, tourism there had just plummeted down to 10% of what it used to be. So I was talking to taxi drivers there, or people who ran the hotels, um, and they were just like, "Oh my God, if it's just like it's all gone. My entire
wow.
job as like a taxi guy is just gone because people are too afraid to come here." But it was safe. It was just fine. Like I was totally safe there. But they were so tourism had just plummeted so much based on the stories, I guess,
Hmm.
that yeah, people were losing their livelihood.
Yeah. Have
I was
you?
able to get like a beautiful hotel for like $3 a night
Oh
because
my God. Yeah,
they just had
because
no one else to give it to.
yeah, and the demand just wasn't there. Have you ever
Yep.
had situations where you felt like you were in danger when you were traveling?
Let me have a think. From not from like not from other people, not so there hasn't been like a crime
Yeah.
danger.
Right. Right.
I felt danger doing like dumb stuff like running of the bulls or
Oh,
whatever.
wait, you did running
That
in the
that
bulls?
yeah, that was terrifying.
Oh
I
my
felt more
god.
fear doing that than like anything else
Well,
in my
why?
life
Like, what?
probably.
Why in the world would you just wanted to do it for the experience? Like, to say you
It's
did
just
it,
the
or
experience.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it had just been ever since I heard about it when I was, I don't know, 17 or something. I always thought, wow, that seems like a cool thing to do. And now looking back on it, like
It's so
the way they
stupid.
actually, yeah, it's really stupid, and it's also actually quite unethical because they sort of kill the bulls after
Oh
and all that sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
And so by running in it, you're actually kind of supporting that
yeah,
whole thing, which is
yeah.
not good.
But
But
as
at
a
the time,
but as a kid, like
I wasn't.
you don't see that part of it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. At the time, I just wasn't thinking that way. So I was like, oh my God, this is like a chance to have a crazy experience.
huh?
And that combined with some element of being in your mid 20s when you feel kind of just invincible and, I can run fast. What's a bull going to do? It's like so stupid. But it was a great experience though. Like
Uh,
I've never felt like genuine terror like that before because it's not so much the bulls. It's more the, when it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 minutes before they release the bulls, like these bells start chiming as like the beginning of the ceremony and all that. And you're in this road filled with people. It's completely packed and everyone's wearing their like white outfits with a little bit of red on it. And
mm.
most people there are tourists who have never done this thing before because all the locals are too smart to actually do it.
Yeah, they're on the
And
sidelines, like watching, right?
yeah, they're like these fucking idiots. They're good for our tourism business, but someone's going to get injured. Um, but yeah, you when the bells start going and it's like 5 minutes later, everyone just starts like you can see it in the eyes of the people who you're standing next to. Like some stranger is just like looks terrified. He's like, "Oh fuck, man,
What have I gotten
why are we
myself
doing this?"
into? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you see people like doing stretches because they're like, trying to like they just want to be in peak survival condition. But yeah, as soon as that it actually starts and everyone starts charging, like it's really really scary. It is more scary, not so much because of the bulls, but because of the swarm of people who are running. It's like you're going to get trampled by the people more than the
Yeah.
actual bulls themselves because it's really crowded and everyone's pushing
Oh
frantically and
wow.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
kind of
What?
cool. You
It
don't get that experience in modern life
no.
really.
Is
So
there
it was interesting.
is there something about that, like, where people you can like sense other people's fear, like, around you, and everybody kind of gets this, like,
Yeah, it's contagious. It's like the
yeah,
fear, it spreads through the crowd really, really
yeah,
quickly
yeah.
as it builds up to that moment. And like in the final 30 seconds when they're like doing the final bell chimes and everyone's like looking at their watch, like you can really, it's like, yeah,
Wow.
the terror is quite real.
But I
Um,
just I don't know how it's still a thing, like, after all,
well,
like, the
I
injuries
think
and
it, I think it does great for their tourism. So I know that it is controversial in Spain, and like the people in southern Spain aren't really a big fan of the way the bulls are treated, so they're trying to like speak out against it. But the people who actually live in Pamplona and the surrounding areas, I think, like it's just such a, it's what they're known for, and it's part of their tradition, and it's so good for their tourism. They probably want to keep it around.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And the thing is as well, it's not just about the bulls. Like the rest of um, that whole festival is really fun as well. Like that night, you go out and everyone's dancing in the streets and having a great time, and everyone's all dressed up in this like white clothing with a little red sash around their hips. It's a cool sight to see. And so that whole ceremony, it's not just about the bulls. Like it's a fun event, I think. Like
Hmm.
all just the dancing in the streets afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is kind of unethical and it's definitely dangerous.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned
um,
the last time we talked that, some of these sort of iconic points of interest in things, or like just tourist traps, are really some of your, like, least favorite
yeah,
experiences that you've had. You talked about how you hated going to see the Mona Lisa,
yeah,
the Colosseum, stuff like that. Like,
yeah. So I like running the bulls. I actually really did love that experience,
yeah, of course.
but because that was like an actual experience, whereas going to see the Mona Lisa or going to see the Colosseum or basically just whenever you go and see just a thing, like just I'm just going to go see this old thing that was created. It's just like just feels like you're just in a crowded museum. Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen the Mona Lisa on the internet. It doesn't look that different in real life, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the most interesting thing about the Mona Lisa was just the crowd of people around the Mona Lisa,
The
and everyone's trying to
people.
get a selfie with her.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah.
Of the
So I think
of
those ones are
this, yeah,
overrated.
of this thing that you're like, I don't even know how close you can get to it, like 20, 30 feet or something like.
Yeah, yeah. They've got the big sort of big velvet rope surrounding it.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, like I don't know if I would have done it differently because it's almost like one of those things which you kind of just have to see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Hopefully in future travels I can get beyond that that idea and be like, you know what,
Yeah.
you don't have to go see the Mona Lisa. Like, time is limited. Just do it on what you think will actually be the most interesting thing,
Yeah.
not the thing you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah.
Huh.
But lately, my girlfriend and I have realized that we just don't particularly like traveling to cities. You know, we far more enjoy just being out in nature, like going on a bushwalk. It's yeah, that's really what traveling is more about to me now, I think.
Is it
Um,
kind of like an escape from the city that you live
yeah, yeah,
in a
maybe
way?
because I live in Sydney, it's like I'm always surrounded by cars and the city, and so going out is just a nice break from that. But also, you're getting exercise and you can have good conversations because you're not
Sure.
distracted by anything. You're just walking for hours and just having a good old chat.
Hmm.
Beautiful views. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's what.
the way that it ends up working here, like we have a family reunion, which I'm not sure if we're doing one this year, but we do it just about every year, and we all go out to the farm, and in a way
Yep.
we're kind of like disconnected from the city. Everyone has a chance to talk, and like
Yeah.
we're kind of out in nature, and we're all together, but we're really
Yeah.
not. We're really still kind of connected to our creature comforts. We're still like rely. We have to go into the little town every day to go to like Walmart to get supplies
Yeah.
because we
Okay.
have to.
Yep.
The logistics of keeping like 20, 30 people in one place. You have to feed everybody. Everybody has
Oh, so
to.
this is your whole extended family, is it? Like cousins and stuff like
Yeah,
that, or?
yeah, it is. It's my immediate
Yep.
family, and then yeah, cousins and that and other relatives will come in from around the
Yep.
U.S. and
Yeah, we
yeah.
we we actually do the same thing as
Oh, you
well.
do?
Like
Cool.
for a 1 week holiday up north next to a beach.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah. But yeah, it is nice doing those sorts of things. Like it's really
Yeah,
nice to spend like quality time with the family. Um, but yeah, you're in Colorado, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah. But do you live in like where in Colorado? Are you like in a big city or are
I'm
you out?
in I'm in like a smaller city that's like north of Denver, which is a big population center. You know,
Yep.
a couple million people.
Yep.
I don't know the exact numbers. My town, Fort Collins, is like 100,000 people, but there's
Right.
also
Okay.
a big college here, or like a fairly big college. So like that adds. Well, actually, I think the population numbers are more closer to like 200,000 now. But you know,
Yep.
it's dwarfed by the size of of Denver. You know, like there's
How
still, yeah.
how has the ever since weed was legalized over there, has
Mm.
that have you seen a change at all? Like not talking about whether or not
It's
you yourself can smoke it, but just like in general day-to-day life, are there fewer people like a bars closing down because everyone's getting high instead, or
no, no. In fact, this area is somewhat famous among those who are like enthusiasts for their microbreweries. So it's just one. It's like just one more thing that's celebrated around here is
okay,
it's just become accepted, and I don't know
yep,
how well the dispensaries are doing, but the breweries are definitely definitely thriving too.
right, okay,
It's just like you'll see some of the breweries will close down. Bars kind of survive because we have like this little kind of tight knit like downtown area where a lot of the bars are located, and people will just kind of walk around and get drunk and go to all the bars. So they're all kind of clustered in the same spot. Like
right,
yeah, I just don't know. I know that restaurants come and go, so like all these businesses are kind of in flux at the same time.
right, okay,
But yeah,
okay,
I mean, I moved here. I moved here right the year that it was legalized recreationally. Anyway, it was one of the first states. Like, I think one of the first medical use dispensaries was here in my town.
yep,
Um,
okay, cool,
but yeah, it's like it's just become like there isn't like people protesting it at all. Like it's just become an accepted part of the culture, and I think that there's some people that kind of despise stereotypical connotations that go along with it. But
They despise the connotation itself, or the like
no, I guess
that, or actual.
I guess I worded it wrong. I think there's some people who believe in the stereotypes.
Oh, I see.
They
Okay,
believe in
so
that,
there's still
and
some
they think that it's destroying parts of the
like
culture, and
lower down
they also yeah,
stoners.
and they don't like they don't like the weed tourism and stuff like that, you know. But
Yep.
I don't know, like, does it affect me at all? No, I think that it's just, if anything, it's, I don't know, it's just another interesting facet of what's
Yep.
going on around here, and it doesn't have really any impact on,
Okay.
if anything, it just gives the cops more like,
Yeah, it gives them more time to actually look for rapists and murderers and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah, stuff like that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you know, I don't know the statistics around, like, has it increased our homeless population? It certainly wouldn't be anything that would move the needle statistically around here.
Right.
But
Okay.
we are actually in this. I say we as in the city. You know, we're building a huge mental health facility here in town, which is going to be a big deal. It's just going to
Yep.
help out a lot of people that are kind of stuck without like the homeless shelters will only take people that aren't using, you know. So there's like some people that are just kind of left out in the cold literally now.
Right. Okay.
That's why you don't see a lot of homeless people in the winter. They'll migrate somewhere else and they'll come back in the summers. But it's not like it just don't. I see what it's like in Denver, and what it's like here is just like a such a small fraction of what's going on there, and in other cities too, like San Francisco, Seattle, you know, Los Angeles. Los Angeles is horrible. San
Oh,
Francisco
is it?
is
Okay.
San Francisco. Yeah, I've heard it's particularly bad because San Francisco is such a small has such a small footprint that like there's nowhere for anyone to go. It's actually an app you can get in San Francisco to show which um which streets don't have like human waste on them.
Oh, serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty bad. But
Oh,
anyway,
I had no idea. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what's it like in Sydney? Do you guys have the
We
same
have
sort of
we
social
have
problems?
some we have like there's not too much homelessness in Sydney, but there are some areas, usually around train stations, where yeah, there you often might sort of get off the train and then you see a homeless guy sort of just with like a bowl, like or a cup, asking for money type thing.
Right.
There's a couple areas in the main central area, main like CBD, which are yeah. If you walk down any of the main streets in the actual city center, then you'll see quite a few homeless people like sleeping on the streets. Um, yeah, I know my girlfriend comments that it's way more here than in the Netherlands. Like maybe they have like a better like safety net for this sort of thing. But yeah, it definitely doesn't sound as bad as like we definitely don't have any. Well, as far as I know, we don't have apps which like yeah tell you when where there's human waste or not. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe one day.
Maybe one no, yeah. But like what types of resources are there for do you have like homeless shelters? Do you have mental health centers, things like that? People where people can go if
Um,
they need help?
yeah, I mean to be honest, I actually don't know. Like
Oh.
we have a thing called Centrelink, which is a it's like welfare. As long as you're looking for a job actively, you can apply and you can get free money. But I don't know how that affects homeless people. I just haven't looked into it that much. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, do you need to have an address to do this thing? Fortunately,
Hmm.
I've never had to go on it. But yeah, yeah, it's I think Australia's like not bad in this regard, but there's always room to improve, I
Well,
suppose.
you guys have a very closed like immigration policy there. Like you don't.
Yeah,
You,
that depends on which government's in power, but like
oh, I
the
see.
more the more conservative government, which is currently in power, they are very much like stop the boats.
Hmm.
They make it really strict. Uh, the visa process that my girlfriend and I are going through cost 7,000 Australian dollars for her to get
Whoa.
her visa, which is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they do definitely make it difficult to come over here.
Like if
Um,
you just I've heard this. Is this true? You can just dispel it or confirm it. Like if you just were to show up and just like stay in the country, would they just like literally ship you out if you like refuse to get a visa or something like that?
Um, Yeah, I believe so. I mean,
Like you
the thing
couldn't
is,
just yeah.
it it depends on the circumstances by
Okay,
which you come. Like,
I
there's
guess so.
a constant, every single election, a constant topic in Australia is what to do with boats, mostly coming from Southeast Asia.
Oh
There's lots
yeah,
of people from Southeast Asia who are
yeah.
like, yeah, refugees basically coming to Australia, and there's a big, you know, lots of discussion always about how best to deal with that situation.
Hmm.
But we've got, the whole, a bit like, well, they're not like concentration camps, but lots of people compare them to concentration camps,
Oh
where
right, like in
we're
like refugee camps, I guess you could call them.
exactly that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But yeah, so the conditions don't look that good from what I've seen.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely it's a hot topic every time,
Yeah,
every
I
election.
imagine. Like
Yeah.
when is the next election coming up for you guys?
Uh, like a year, I
A
think.
year? Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not on a perfectly fixed schedule,
Oh,
but I think it's about a year.
I got you. I got you.
Um,
Huh.
yeah, but I try, honestly, I try not to stay too up to date with Australian politics. Um,
It's a little bit like here, like it's just all over the place, very divisive.
yeah, yeah, like everywhere, like politics is just becoming more and more polarized as time goes on. Probably, I think, because of things like social media.
Mm.
And it's hard to have like a rational conversation,
Yeah.
it
Well,
seems, especially on the internet.
I mean, something that's maybe more relevant for us to talk about would be, I had a discussion with a cabbie man who is also from Australia there, and
Yep.
we had a discussion about sort of the history of like censorship for video games in Australia. Do you have any thoughts on like the current situation
Yeah,
there? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's crazy. Like, the R-rated version of GTA, like, yeah, there was a period of time where you just couldn't even buy GTA in Australia because it had, like, all the prostitutes and all that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think censorship of games is just craziness. Just put on the appropriate rating and then let people decide for themselves.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you see that changing, like shifting at all with the different like regimes of government?
yeah, yeah. It does depend on if the right or the left party is in.
Hmm.
But there was the one guy who was like massively pushing for this Australian ban. He's I think he's like retired now. I should actually double check this. But he's basically like, he's lost his influence, thankfully. So it's
Okay.
not such a big issue anymore. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's just craziness to censor games. He's one of these sort of guys who would just talk about how, like, yeah, games cause people to do school shootings and all that
Oh
sort of stuff.
sure. And
It's just
and
like
like what is in their
old,
minds
out of touch guy.
like what is their idealistic world when it comes to like movies, video games, music and stuff like that? It's like
Just
only
the sound of
things
music,
yeah,
just
only
on
things
repeat. Yeah.
only things that are nice and polite and don't have any bad words, they don't have any violence, don't show
Yep.
any yeah, none of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They
I
don't
mean,
see any of this as art. They see it as something that they can limit and something that they can control, you know.
yeah, I guess, like, I'm in no way a social conservative, so I can't really get into the mindset. Maybe it's just like, you're personally so disgusted by it, you just can't imagine how anyone else could like it. Like,
Mm.
you watch like a Tarantino film and there's just huge amounts of excessive blood all over the place, like Kill Bill or something like
Yeah.
that. And you're like, this is just ridiculous, like, I don't like it. No one else, no one else truly likes it. Surely not. I need to, save people from this, or something like that.
Huh.
I think that's the idea.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
just
I can't relate to it at all.
it's such an odd conversation to be having in 2020, you know.
Yep,
Are you a fan of Tarantino? Did you
I am. Yep,
Yeah, did you
he would be my second favorite director after
Whoa.
Christopher Nolan.
Oh, wow. So
Yep.
what did you think of his last movie? Uh
Uh,
what was
the
it? Wait,
Once
what was
Upon
it
a
called?
Time in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
Once Upon I can't talk tonight. I did see that with
I
my friend. I did see it in the theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually was. I liked it, but I was actually a bit underwhelmed
Hmm.
by it, to be honest.
Are you
Like,
familiar? Are you kind of familiar with the Charles Manson case? Are you familiar with like Hollywood and everything around it? All the characters
no,
vaguely,
I
not
don't
so
think I
much.
was. Yeah, not so much.
Hmm.
So I do know it was based on all that. Um, and I thought that part was interesting. My favorite scenes were the scenes where they were on, like, the the hippie commune
Oh, the
area.
Spawn
I
Ranch.
thought,
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
yeah.
Yeah, I like they were my favorite scenes, but I just found like the movie kind of was like Margot Robbie's character, for example, may as well have just not even been in the movie. Like she barely even
Huh.
her story didn't even interact with anyone else's story. You know what I mean? So it just felt like it was just like tacked on a little bit, which is a bit of a shame because I like her, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think my standards were just so high because I'm used to you know Pulp Fiction style quality from Tarantino. So this one I was
Hmm.
a bit like,
I
wasn't the biggest
you
fan.
know Sharon
So
Tate
what do you think?
Sharon Tate, the Margot Robbie's character, the whole thing, the movie was cool for me because it kind of showed what what her life could have been like had her life not been ended tragically short. You know, like if you understood more about Charles Manson case, and in that way, this is definitely a movie that's
Uh,
catered
I,
towards more people that understand the culture around it. But I mean, as far as like a Tarantino product overall, it's not my favorite. It's but
oh,
it's
so sorry, I think maybe I don't know this story well enough, but in the movie, Sharon Tate's just like chilling at the end. Like she just
yeah,
says, "Hello, hello, neighbor," and then like,
yeah. No,
but
in
did
the
she actually die
she
in real life
dies. She dies and her baby dies too. She
because of
because
that killing?
yeah, because Charles Manson like told his followers to go out and cause mayhem and kill these people, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
that maybe that's why it felt weird to me because I didn't know that she was supposed to die at the end of that movie.
Oh, by the way,
Like,
spoiler alert, I guess. Like,
uh,
if people
sorry.
haven't, if this movie came out like a year ago, we shouldn't have to do that. But people should
Yeah,
know,
true.
like, if we're talking about a movie you haven't seen yet, I mean, this came out
Yeah,
like in July of
was it?
last year, so
Yeah.
yeah. I
But
guess,
yeah, so
yeah,
from my point of view, not knowing what actually
yeah.
happened to Sharon Tate in real life, from my point of view, it was just like, why was this person in the movie? Like nothing.
You don't even
She,
know who she
you,
is. Yeah,
you see what I mean? Like
yeah,
she didn't actually tie in. If she had got killed at the end, like actually happened in real life, then it would be like, now it
yeah,
all links together.
yeah.
But she was
No,
basically just like
yeah, no. Now,
the
yeah, no.
neighbor. It was like, hello.
I went into this. I went into it knowing how it how the story ended in real life. It's kind of like
Yep.
going into watching Inglorious Bastards and
Mm,
knowing
yeah.
how
And
that
then they.
story played out. You know,
Yep.
World War II,
Yeah, of course. Yep.
and then it's like there's like this alternate history that Tarantino likes to have this like revisionist history where like
Yep.
where the heroes win, not the bad guys win. You know, like
Yep.
so like
Yep.
instead of these like crazy these people that are like on LSD or whatever they were on different types of drugs like going in there like entranced by this cult leader going to kill
Yep.
these innocent people, like instead they're the ones who get their heads bashed in, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and they actually had a they had a reference to Inglorious Bastards too, if you remember the like the flamethrower, like
They did. Yep.
of course,
Yeah.
right?
That scene was great when Brad Pitt at the end when he was like tripping out and then
Yeah.
he's like fighting these guys and he's yeah.
Yeah,
I loved Brad Pitt in that
yeah,
too.
he was the one who was tripping out because he like
Yeah.
he's the one who was I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like I should have done the research beforehand
no,
because
you shouldn't
now,
have
now
to. You should have to do
well
research before
the
you go
thing
see
is
a movie. Yeah,
now that I think about it, clearly this movie was when Tarantino made it, he was expecting that people knew the
yeah,
actual story,
yeah.
and so me not knowing the
Hmm.
actual story, it made it not connect at all. I was like,
Hmm. Huh.
so I'll keep that in mind
It,
next time I
well,
watch a
well,
Tarantino
like,
film.
you've. I'm sure you've seen Pulp Fiction multiple times.
Oh, many many
Like
times. Yep.
maybe maybe you can watch some stuff on Charles Manson because there's been multiple things on that, and then you can go
Mm.
back. You can like go back and and watch this movie again, having known.
Yeah. Well, I think just now that you've actually told me what happened to Shannon Tate in real life, because I didn't
Yeah,
know that happened. So now that
yeah,
you've given me that piece of information, it sort of does completely change the ending. So
yeah.
yeah,
Her and a
I'm not sure
few.
if I prefer it or not, but
Yeah,
it's
her.
more interesting at
Yeah,
least.
her and a few of her house guests were killed there, and she would her husband is this this famous director who
Mm.
Rosemary's Baby and a few other movies. Now he's living abroad because of legal reasons, but
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's a whole other story. I'm just curious
Yep.
to hear what you thought about that. I would say that I would
Yep.
rank this one as far as Tarantino films still in the top five for sure.
Okay.
But like my least favorite one, probably The Hateful Eight would probably be my least favorite one over the last few
Hmm.
years. But I still
Okay.
liked it. I still liked it. But
Yeah, they're all good. All good. I preferred the Hateful Eight to this one,
hmm,
but yeah, Pulp Fiction is incredible. Inglorious Bastards is incredible,
yeah.
especially because of what's his name, the Jew Hunter guy,
Oh
the
yeah,
German.
yeah. That guy.
He's just so
Yeah.
good. Django Unchained, incredible, and I really like Reservoir Dogs as well.
Huh.
Yeah,
I
Tarantino is just
Yeah,
smashing
and he still shoots. He still shoots his stuff on film. Like he
it.
still, yeah.
Yep.
And he has his own. He actually has his own theater in Los Angeles or Hollywood, one or the other, where
Okay.
where he shows movies on film. Like
Okay.
it's
Interesting.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you get like an old school like theater experience. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Um, yeah, Christopher Nolan, he's my favorite. He's got a new movie coming out called Tenet, I think,
Oh
which is
yeah.
like going to be some sort of time travel based thing. So I'm going to see that like day one. I'm a massive Christopher Nolan fan.
Is he the director behind the like
Inception and Interstellar and The Dark Knight and The
yeah the
Prestige.
Dark Knight trilogy? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Um,
You look at his, um, like as writer credits are like insane.
exactly. Yeah. He's just like, he's one of those directors who's just like, so his name is so big that
Whoa.
he can just his name alone is going to like fill seats.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Huh.
same as Tarantino, same as probably Spielberg, I guess. But yeah,
Right. Just more. I don't know what the word is. Just more like. Uh, I don't know. Just crazy. Like just more unique. Not like. Yeah.
are you talking about Christopher Nolan or
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Some of the like the dark take on
he?
Batman was something that was
Yeah,
sorely needed. Like.
yeah,
Yeah.
I much prefer the Dark Knight trilogy to like the Marvel movies. Like, the
Mm.
Marvel movies are good fun, but sort of find that they're all kind of just like the same movie.
Yeah.
Like they're very sort of formulaic, I guess.
Hmm.
Like they're done really, really well. Like this, like and the most recent Avengers movie was like great fun to watch. But I'm always just like, I know what I'm going to get when I go there. It's just sort of like popcorn, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas The Dark Knight, you know, it was a much deeper film, I guess. I felt like,
Yes.
you know, more impacted
Yeah.
by the characters and the ideas. You know, like the Joker actually had a somewhat relatable um, like motive, which is kind of cool. Like it's quite rare for a bad. Usually bad guys are just like, you know, just cartoonish villains.
Yes.
But the Joker's, you know, he was talking about, you know, how there's too many rules and regulations, and we just need chaos is the only thing which is truly fair and unbiased and all that. I was like, oh, yeah, he's kind of got a point.
Right. Yeah.
um, yeah, it's just a bit more interesting for me. But
Hmm. Yeah. There's another thing I want to ask you about. It's another one of my like Reddit quotes that I grabbed, and
oh yeah,
this is still on the same topic of movies. You know, you had commented on this thread that was like, which movie quote stuck with you, and the one that you posted was from. We'll see if people will listening to it if they immediately come to mind.
well,
The
can I actually try and guess it? Because I don't know what comment you're talking about. But can you tell me the name of the movie,
oh, um,
and then I'll try and guess what the quote is?
oh, sure, Fight Club.
Ah, ooh, so many quotes from Fight Club.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm guessing it's going to be things you own end up owning you.
that's the one. Yep.
That's the
Yeah.
one. Yep.
So it's the scene with you know, Brad Pitt is sitting there with the other guy. His name is
Um, the
uh,
character or
you know
the character is called
the
Jack
actor
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. I was gonna
Yep.
the name Robert was stuck in my head. So
Oh, yep.
Edward Norton and Brad Pitt are sitting there, and it's just after his apartment has burned down,
Explodes.
explodes,
Yep.
not burned down, yeah, it explodes, and all of his possessions are gone. You know, prior to that, he was like this big time. He basically just his life was like work and then like buying things for his apartment, right?
Yep.
And then all
Getting
of
the
it,
perfect yin yang IKEA table.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And there was definitely some metaphors in there for consumerism and everything there. But after it's all gone, he's just like, oh, I'm sure. He says something like, oh, I'm sure my insurance will cover it, and then
Yep.
Brad Pitt's like, oh, the things that you own end up owning you. And he said, but
Yep.
do whatever you want, do whatever you want. But yeah,
Yep.
um. So
Yeah.
what?
That movie, like, I can't remember. I must have been, well, I was obviously a teenager when I watched that movie, but like that movie impacted me in a big way, I think. Like that general idea. It's the same as things that we were talking about an hour ago. How like I just don't buy stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's all in the same school of thought. I feel like the idea of
Utility
working at
versus
it,
aesthetic, or
well, more just like the most valuable resource is like time in your life. You know what I mean? Not
yeah, sure.
not money. You know, but I guess the idea that Tyler Durden in Fight Club was getting at there is you're much better off spending your time, which is your actual limited resource, doing something that you enjoy, as opposed to working for a whole bunch of money and then using that money to buy something like some IKEA table or whatever that will give you meaning in your life.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I totally agree with that quote for sure.
Yeah, it's difficult not to get stuck in that mentality because everything around us is influencing us in that way. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you had mentioned this in the last time we talked about how, like, you know people that pursue money and wealth and objects and things versus, like, what you said. I think you said something like what people should really be pursuing is like things that make them happy. and
yeah. Yeah,
and
like there's nothing wrong with um, making lots of money and having a high paying job. Like that's awesome as long as you're actually enjoying what you're doing
mm,
8 hours a day
mhm.
for like the majority of your life,
because
kind of thing.
let's be honest, like, you have, what type of a super high paying part-time job is there? Like, you're investing like whatever percentage. It might actually give you a lot of anxiety to think about how much time, if you have a full-time job, like how much time are you actually spending on that versus doing everything else. It's like more than 50%. You're like, what, I'm spending more than half my life working at a job that I don't like, like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I sort of have to tell myself this sort of idea as well because I am the other option, the other alternative is what I'm doing, which is you do something which you really, really, really like. Like I really love making this game, but that comes at the expense of a stable income or really much of an income at
Yeah.
all. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so there are definitely downsides to this side of the equation as well because it does have financial stress and there's no security. I don't have any kids, but if I did have kids, I wouldn't be doing such a risky thing. So, you know,
It's not for
every,
everybody,
every,
but
yeah, it's not for everyone at all, and it depends on which situation you're in. And I'm also kind of lucky because I don't know, like I have technical skills which make it easier to make my own, sort of thing, my own products
yeah.
like a game. Um, whereas, you know, I guess it depends on.
Not everybody's gonna be a digital nomad and a game developer. Obviously, like, it's just not.
Yeah, of
That's not
course. Yeah, I
everyone's
mean
path.
that's way too
But
specific. But still, like for example, my sister's a teacher, and teachers don't typically make a huge amount of money or anything. And she knew this when she took the job, but
hmm,
she took it anyway because she just really really likes teaching.
huh?
So
Do you think that there
she
was, was there something like from her childhood that she connected with? Like, did she have like good teachers growing up, and like she felt,
um
or was it just like something she connected with later in life? Do you think, like,
I'm not sure. I
huh?
think it's more to do with her personality. Like
Okay.
everyone has a different personality, and
Hmm.
her temperament is very much one of, she's got like that, I guess you could say, like nurturing,
Yeah. Sure.
caring vibe about her, which is perfect if to be a teacher because, you've got these
Patience.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have these kids who, need to be taken care of, and also you can make a really profound impact on their life. Like if you do a good job, like if you're lucky enough to have a good teacher when you're, you know, 8 years old, it could really teach you life lessons that change who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
a good teacher who loves their job and, takes it seriously can do
It's
wonders for
it's
someone.
such an asset to a community. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But again, it doesn't typically pay. I think it actually pays all right in Australia, but I know that like there's lots of memes about it not paying that well in America, at
Well, I
least.
mean,
That's what I've heard.
yeah, and
I don't know if that's actually
and
true or
on
not.
top of that, teachers are investing money in like supplies and stuff along with that. So like
Yep.
maybe you get that as a tax write off at the end of the year, but yeah, they're definitely
Yep.
not they're not rock stars like.
Yep.
But yeah, it's funny
But
how
basically,
these yeah
I just saying, if you're the sort of person who would love teaching, but then you decide to, work in the finance sector instead for the money, then I would say you're probably making a mistake, and you're
yeah
better off just getting the happiness directly from the teaching
huh.
than from the stuff that you can buy with all that extra money. Like
It's just like
that would be the Fight Club
it's like a
theory.
yeah it's a deep like meditation upon yourself to know
What you actually want.
what is my purpose, what do I want, what makes me happy. It's just like
Yeah,
it's a constant struggle.
yeah. Well, that is like I don't know. I always knew I wanted to be doing this sort of stuff, so I think I was a bit lucky in that way. Like ever since I was in high school and I took my first, it was called the class is called like Design and Technology Multimedia. So it was all about like making 3D animations and websites and basically like the same sort of stuff that I'm doing with my game. As soon as I did that, I was like, oh, this is by far the most fun class, way more fun than maths or
Yeah,
physics or English or anything like that.
yeah.
So very quickly I knew exactly what I wanted to be doing. So that was lucky, I think. But
Hmm.
yeah, I guess there are people who just don't really know what truly what
Huh.
the best job for
I
them would
hear
be.
that. I hear that
I'm not.
I hear that a lot with people I've been talking to, um, and not just on the podcast. It's like if only I had access to this certain type of a class, or if I knew that this was an option for me, I would have been doing this a long time ago.
So they have now found what they like doing. They've
Yeah,
found their passion now,
exactly.
but it just took
Yeah.
them a long time.
Like for
Yeah.
me,
Well, that's
dude,
good at least.
if I knew that cybersecurity was a field that was something that was going to be emerging and growing, and how
Mm,
many different avenues there are within that, I think that would have been my major. It wouldn't have been the generic like computer science degree that I
mm,
took back in 2000. Like I would have went into that, and yeah, I would have known like, okay, I have to learn a little bit of coding and stuff like that, but that's not going to be I'm not going to be sitting at a terminal inputting
yep.
commands for the rest of my life. Like I'm actually going to
Yeah.
be part of this like
Yeah.
really cool
Yeah. Cybersecurity does sound
yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but I don't know like what the best way is to find like if you're a kid or whatever,
Yeah.
or I guess at any age, if what the best way to find your passion is. Like you
Just
could do things like
try things, you know.
try things. Probably the best way is to find like-minded people
Yeah.
and then ask them.
You'd
Like
be surprised how receptive people are to like if you're really interested like for instance I know people that I'll just say the names because they're friends of mine. Like Vanguard. He's somebody who I had
yep.
on the podcast before. He like expressed a lot of interest in going into like video production and like esports and that sort of thing. And
Okay.
I was like,
That's
oh, I got the perfect person for you to talk to. This guy, Michael Murray.
yep.
He's broadcast engineer for ESL, this huge esports organization. I had him on the podcast recently, and it's just like he was just like waiting for someone to come talk to him about it. He's like
Yeah.
he's so passionate
That
about
that
it. He has so many ideas for someone.
that is cool. You doing this podcast, you get to speak to people in a whole variety of disciplines, I
Yeah.
guess. Like I obviously Joe Rogan, like
Yep.
he's got his massive podcast, and he has you know he's putting out a new podcast every single day, and he's speaking to all sorts of crazy people, like from all
Yeah.
different walks of life.
Yeah.
But now he has just like he's accumulated this really broad range of knowledge, I guess. He's got a whole bunch of contacts in all different fields.
It just
Like
kind
there's
of
something about
it just kind of yeah,
podcasting.
it just kind of snowballs, right? Because like
Yep,
you start with a few people, and
yep,
then and then as you go, like we have callbacks to other people that I've talked to, and really like before I got to know you, it was kind of like, oh, this is crazy. This guy worked on he worked on this game for how long? Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's insane. Like, but I didn't know all the
Yep.
little nuances in your philosophies around things, and that's really kind of like what I try to bring out through this show. So
Yeah.
it's been cool that way.
Well, that's sort of in the name, right? Like emotive. It's a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're trying to get a bit deeper, I
yeah.
guess, with the
There
conversations.
was that, and really like part of it for me starting out, like people that are listening maybe haven't gone back and listened to the introduction, which don't if you don't need to, you don't have to. The introduction was there to give people context about terminology we're using with Twitch, and referencing things about like aliases, why people some people use aliases versus their real name, and stuff like that.
Mm,
But I mean, in the definition of emotive, it's kind of like kind of expressing yourself without kind of fact checking yourself. You're really just kind of, your emotions are coming out versus your like logical
yep.
brain, right? And that's kind of
Yep.
like how I've always been, and
Yep.
that's useful, but it's also something I wanted to grow from too. But
Hmm.
I think it's dishonest to say that we don't have like hot takes, and at least in our head when we read headlines and all these other things that happen, like we have these emotions around things, and they come out, and they might not be right, but they come out, and
Mm, yep.
and through conversations, like my aim was to grow and like and learn. Like if I'm wrong about something, I want to know so that I can learn from it, because that's the only way to
For
do
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, with the 20 conversations you've had so far, like have they sort of been um, in that sort of emotive spirit? Because I know that you, at least you talk with me about video games, for example.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you also have quite a few other sort of technical people on the
Yeah.
podcast.
It's
So is it a challenge to get these more technical people to open up in a more emotive way?
yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
And I don't force it, but I prod and I poke, and sometimes I will reveal something about myself personally,
Yep.
and try to get them to relate. So it's a give and a take. Like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
this isn't all about me, but I reveal personal things about me when they're relevant to the conversation, and I hope that
Yep.
they will feel comfortable to respond in kind. And if they don't, then I pull back, and then I get
Yep.
back to the baseline. But we always have this like baseline to go back to, where it's the reason why I know them, or however I met
Yeah.
them.
Okay. Yep.
Whether they're a developer or Twitch streamer, content
Yep.
creator, artist, whatever it is. Like some people aren't as comfortable with it, and then we just pull it back, and then we get back to,
Yep.
yeah, we get back to
Yeah.
things
Okay.
that
So like
aren't as personal.
for our conversation, like the baseline is basically talking about gaming, gene shift,
That's right.
um, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then we can go off on random tangents about
Mm.
like you're looking up like that quote from Fight Club, for example,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
I
you can
wanted to
sort of get
know.
into a bit more interesting
Yeah, I
philosophy
wanted to,
of things.
and what I wanted to get out of you there, if you didn't notice, is like, yeah, talking about consumerism and your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, because I did notice there was more. There's like more in like through your Reddit history. There's like more talking about things like that, and in this other quote that I'll mention right now
Oh, yep.
that you can tell me what you think further about. This is like the last thing here, um, and then we'll kind of wrap up. It says here, quote, "Forget your accomplishments and legacy. Sooner or later, the world will forget them too. Instead, simply try to leave the world in a better place than you found it. Life is ultimately meaningless, but it's a pretty awesome gift, and you should just try to enjoy it."
Hmm. Interesting. So what is the what was that? What was the context of that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Uh,
I just like copy pasted it. So I know
yeah. Okay.
I know that I found it in your history. I wish I would have linked the, wish
Hang on, I'm
put the
looking at my
link to.
history now.
Yeah,
What what is that again? Accomplishments.
yeah,
Forget.
yeah,
Ah, but yeah. Anyway, I would love to have context on this
yeah,
because I'm pretty sure I remember typing that.
yeah.
But it was along the line. It was some dude who was like saying, "How do I? I've been working really, really hard, but I just still don't feel like I've really achieved anything yet." Blah blah blah
Mm.
blah. I was trying to find the
Hmm.
context of it.
We'll find the context here real quick. We're not in a hurry. We'll find it.
What was the
Yeah.
first word of it again? Forget.
Forget your accomplishments.
I'm just going
I
through
like
that.
scrolled down to like 8 months past. Let's see.
Yeah, because I've got like a huge amount of comments about that Cybertruck thing, which I'm scrolling past now. So
It's
many
in here
Cybertruck.
somewhere. It's in here somewhere.
Yeah,
We'll find
yeah.
it. Let's see.
Um, but yeah, that the general sentiment of that quote, yeah, it's something which has been in my mind
Hmm.
quite a lot. I think, like, I'll have to get you to reread the quote to be honest, because I was trying to
Sure.
think of where it came from.
Yeah. Let's find it. I'm gonna find it. It's in here. Wait, how far did I go? What if I just made that up? What if I just?
No, it oh, hang
It's
on.
in here. Scrolling.
I do remember typing that. I'm pretty sure I remember the subreddit. It was like, I think it was
Wow.
ENTJ or something like that was the
Yeah, it
subreddit.
could have been. I can't even find it now. What? I
I'm
can't
down to
even.
9 months.
I can't
I'm about
even.
to do a giant Control F.
I can't even do it.
Forget.
I can't even find it. I don't even know where I got it from then.
But I do remember typing that.
Huh.
But yeah. Anyway, if you wanna, if you could you read the quote again so I can.
Sure. Forget your accomplishments and legacy. Sooner or later, the world will forget them too. Instead, simply try to leave the world in a better place than you found it. Life is ultimately meaningless, but it's a pretty awesome gift, and you should try to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty sure the context for that was some dude was complaining. He was like, why I've been working so hard. I've been, building my business, blah, 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 but I just feel sort of empty, you know? And he was like, how do I get rid of this feeling? And yeah, I've just been thinking a lot. Have you heard of a philosophy called Stoicism?
Yes.
Like it's ancient Greek Stoicism, so an ancient Greek philosophy, but it's still quite relevant in the modern world, and it's very much in line with that quote that you just read out. Like it's yeah, I guess being too obsessed with accomplishments, it's a game that you can't really win because as soon as you reach your goal, like your brain naturally adapts to like, okay, this is my new baseline. Now I need my next goal and my next goal and my next goal. You know what I mean? You never. It's like you can make $1 million and you're like, yay, for like 2 weeks, and then you're like, but now I need to make $2 million and then $10 million, and like that can just scale up infinitely. So it's better to shift your attitude, I think. Like it's more robust, a healthier attitude to focus more on just doing what you can in the moment and just enjoying life, and viewing goals and accomplishments as more just like, I don't know, like a fun goal, a fun little game almost,
Mm.
as opposed to taking it so seriously that you're like, my life revolves around creating a $1 million business or
Hmm.
something, or you know getting an A+ on every single score,
I think that
at university or
yeah,
something like that.
I think that we get that feeling every time the power goes out. We're like, wait a minute, like, oh, what is my life without the grid and
Yeah,
everything that's attached to it? Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
um, yeah, yeah. I do. I've been massively like lately. I've been going this massive philosophy binge because I do think it's largely inspired because of my game and the unusual nature of the game, especially the uncertainty of the game, and also the the chance of such extreme success or failure. Like back when I had a 9 to 5 job, I didn't really think too much about these things because at the end of the day, I was going to make the exact same amount of money each month anyway. But because I'm so invested into this game, like ten years into it, and it may not make much money at all when I release it, like that is the statistical likelihood, is that it won't. If it's anything like other games, it won't make a huge amount of money, but
yeah.
there's a chance it will. But I'm trying to find ways to um, like almost immunize myself from either outcome. So I don't want to be dependent upon the positive outcome. Like I don't want to be dependent upon succeeding with the
Mm.
game because it's unlikely. And You found the quote, did
Yeah,
you?
I did. But yeah, continue,
Nice.
continue.
Yeah. Um, it is unlikely to happen. It could happen. I'm going to try my best to make it happen, but
Yeah,
there's definitely no guarantee of it happening. Um, and so I'm trying to think of ways to view the world where it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and that quote was sort of one of these things.
Hmm.
Worrying too much about this accomplishment or that accomplishment is that can't be the way that you view the world, because you are just going to be perpetually setting yourself up for disappointment when
Exactly. Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
achieve this or that.
Hmm.
And also, I mean, whether whether or not you achieve something largely depends on how difficult a thing it is to achieve in the first place.
Well, who's yeah?
So
Who's
so so
well?
people may
Yeah. I'm
so go on.
sorry. No, you go ahead first.
I was just going to say, like, people may set themselves some ridiculous challenge without really quite realizing how ridiculous it is or how difficult it is, which I kind of did a little bit myself with my game until I thought realistically about it. I was like, um, I could tell I don't really do this much anymore, but I could tell there was a period where I was so obsessed with the game and trying to make it work, and I was like, all that matters is that I release the game and it does well. That's all that matters. I just have to get that. Like I was like a man on a mission, which makes you nice and productive and all that, but it's not a healthy attitude, because like I don't want to be dependent on some external thing determining whether or not I can enjoy life. Like like I shouldn't have to depend on some external thing. I just want to have a better way of looking at the world. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So the way I'm sort of looking at things now in relation to my game is whether my game succeeds or fails doesn't really matter, because my real long-term goal is just to learn the skills to do this like digital nomad lifestyle, because that's my real long-term goal. And I view my game more as just like just practice. Like it's a cool project I'm working on, which I really enjoy, but it's sort of just practice and a way
Hmm.
to learn skills.
Hmm.
Whereas and then but the real goal is just like in 10 years time, where will I be? That's what
Yeah.
really matters. What happens like in the next 6 months with this marketing
Yeah.
push is just irrelevant in the grand scheme of my life.
I
And then when
mean,
you zoom out on that sort of a time frame, then this guy, like the dude I was responding to, his sorts of issues just become irrelevant, and they aren't that concerning
hmm.
anymore, I guess.
Huh.
Yeah.
So if you look back on your life, like let's say you're looking back on your life and in your accomplishments and that, like that's just really, I guess that's not really like a thought process that you have in that mindset. Like you you
Um,
you you take different elements of those accomplishments. You take more of the lessons that you learned than necessarily the face value, the money, the um
Yeah, I think like it is a good idea to look back on your past accomplishments, I think, because it just makes you feel happy.
yeah.
There's have you heard of there's this concept called hedonic adaptation, or the
Hmm.
hedonic treadmill. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
It's a psychological concept, which is pretty much what I explained. It's this idea that, you know, no matter what level you reach in life in absolute terms, so like how much money you make or how much weight you lose or, whatever, there's always a next level. It's the reason why humans can have their legs chopped off, like in a car crash, but then 3 months later, when scientists ask them like how happy they are, they report just the exact same level of happiness as your average person,
Huh.
despite having no legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you just adapt to your new circumstance.
Hmm.
And at the same time, um, someone wins the lottery, and you would think that they would be crazy happy for the rest of their life because they're like, got millions and millions of dollars. But, and they are really excited for the first month or so, but then they just get used to that new baseline. And then they're just as happy as a normal person. In fact, they are often less happy because they don't know how to manage money. They just got there by like luck instead
Yeah,
of them earning
they
it.
didn't earn it. They were
Yeah,
just got
so
this
so
windfall of money. Yeah.
exactly. So they on average they don't know how to manage money. So they start at like, normal, then they go up to like 100 million or whatever it is, but then they don't know how to manage money. So within 2 years they've like lost half of it, and then 2 years later they've down to like a 10% of it. And so they're actually now, while they still have millions of dollars, relative to the $100 million that they used to have, they feel like they've gone like down. down in comparison, and so they actually feel bad about that. So the idea is what's going on externally, like what the actual sort of absolute objective state of your life is basically irrelevant, because all that really matters is internally, like how do you think about that instead? You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's sort of like and again, this I think about this because of my game. Like what happens externally with whether my game succeeds or fails, I don't want to I don't want that to be a determining factor in, you know, um, how happy I am or how stressed I am or anything like that.
Mm.
Because it's out of my control. Like I can influence
Mm.
it by
Mm.
doing things like marketing and making a fun game, but I can't guarantee
Yeah.
that my game makes, you know, $1 million. There's just no way I can guarantee that will happen.
Is
So as
it's
it's out of my control,
yeah.
I don't want to depend on it at all, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like compartmentalizing the things that are within your control and things that are outside of your control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, that the Stoicism philosophy, a huge part of that philosophy is the idea of find the things that are in your control and only worry
Huh.
about those things. Like if
Huh.
it's out of your control, just there's why you can't do anything about it anyway. So you may as well just not worry about it. And then of the things which are in your control, then well, it's in your control. So just do what you can do, and then it's all good.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, yeah. I find it's a very interesting philosophy. It's a good way to look at life because it makes you able to perceive any situation in a far more sort of calm, stress-free
Hmm.
manner.
So,
Um,
these philosophies that you've been studying and starting to put into practice kind of flies in the face of like, running a business at times, right? The cutthroat nature of it, right? But
yeah,
so are some of these philosophies that you've learned, is that kind of why, like, the last time that we talked, that you said like the next thing that you work on, which of course we're not looking too far forward because you still have Gene Shift is still actively in development, and that, like, the next thing that you
yep.
make might not necessarily be like a video game.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be for different reasons.
Different
Just
reasons.
because, um, I mean, this game took me like 10 years to make.
Right.
I don't want to have to spend 10 years on another project. You know, that's just like
Yeah.
not it's not
No,
practical, you know.
no.
And also, it'd be nice for variety, I think, for my next project
Hmm.
to be not just myself, but also working with other people, just because
Okay.
it'd be fun to mix it up and do that.
Yeah, we had mentioned
And
that, like,
maybe,
you're
yeah,
open to working with a partner, maybe, yeah, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, yeah, like we were saying before, I want to do the digital nomad thing and actually work with my girlfriend on some sort of project.
Oh yeah.
So,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
so that sort of thing would be cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Huh.
but yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
let's
so
well
so
let's
this
go. I'm sorry. We keep talking over each other. That's because we have so much to
sorry,
say. Go ahead.
yeah. I was just like just wrapping up on that quote. I have been experimenting with this sort of stoic philosophy a little bit. I quite like it. I think it's a healthier way to look at life, and it makes things, even when you're doing something as risky as, you know, spending many years on a indie game which most likely won't succeed.
Mm.
It helps get through the stress side of that a lot better. Now
Yeah.
I don't really feel stressed. I'm
I
just like, you know
don't.
what, I'm just doing a cool thing.
I've never heard you
Yeah.
sound stressed. So.
There have been
Yeah.
times like
Oh yeah.
when, yeah, like there are definitely times when I used to get more stressed, like especially for money reasons and stuff like that.
Mm.
But now if I take I basically just found a way to solve that issue by just viewing the situation differently. Um, which just goes to show the power of the mind, I guess. If you can have the healthy sort of mental habits, then yeah, you can just not be stressed out by things, which is great.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my place. Okay. So. Oh man. Oh, okay. That was where I was gonna go. A
Okay.
lot of
Nice.
times this happens. Like one time during the podcast where I was like trail off, and there I was like reading this Reddit thread at the end of what you were saying, and like, oh
Yep.
wait, I was supposed to talk next. But no, I've got it.
Yep.
I've got where we're gonna go. Uh,
Yep.
so this was like, this isn't a quote or anything, but you had mentioned when people were talking about I think the Final Fantasy VII remake,
Mm. Yep.
and you mentioned that you had played that game like a ton of times through.
When I was a kid, yeah, for
Yeah, when
sure.
you were a kid, like, is there any other games like that you've played through a ton, and things that might, or even like recent games that might like inspire you, um, like
For
in just
with
inspirational for uh, game dev reasons or otherwise, like.
well, so yeah, so GTA 2 was another big one. Like when I was at that age that I was playing Final Fantasy 7,
Yeah.
GTA 2 was also out. So I spent a huge amount of time just playing GTA on the PlayStation
Yeah.
as a kid, and so that clearly inspired Gene Shift. Um, but yeah, Final Fantasy 7 was like a whole different tier. Like that was I played that game. It's like a 70-hour game from start to finish, and I played it 8 times in a row, just back to back. So
Yeah,
I'd
that
like
was the
play it
thing.
7 times. I was like,
Jeez.
cool. I'm just gonna restart the game and start from the very beginning again.
Wow.
I was just obsessed with this game. I can't wait for the remake to come out. Although I don't have a PlayStation, so and this sort of flies in the face of my whole not buying things thing. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that because I really want to play Final Fantasy. Um,
But you used to be able to just rent one from the video store for like an exorbitant amount of money. You'd be able to rent like a console for a night or something. But
yeah,
you'd need it for a week or more
for
probably.
for a game like Final Fantasy for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe I can borrow a PlayStation of one of my friends who has one, and then I'll say in exchange for letting me borrow this for a month, I will just give you Final Fantasy. So I buy you the game for free.
Oh,
If
that's a
so,
pretty good
that might
trade.
work.
That
That's a pretty win-win
maybe
situation as long as I
that might
don't use
work.
it that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, other games. I mean, lately, um, I've been playing The Witcher a huge amount at the moment.
Right.
That's not inspiring Gene Shift at all, but it's just like a
No.
great, awesome
No.
game. But typically, the games which I usually prefer the most are the online PvP competitive games like Counter
Hmm.
Strike and Dota and StarCraft
Hmm.
and Sold Out, and all of those have inspired Gene
Yeah.
Shift.
Those. I
Like
mean.
Counter Strike, obviously.
Yeah.
Dota, like Dota has the sort of the skill system, which is quite similar to Gene
Oh,
Shift's
okay.
skill
Okay.
system. Um,
Did you
yeah,
ever play competitively in games, or were they were mostly like casual experience for you?
I was never good, but I exclusively played competitively. Like
Yeah.
for me, the fun of Counter Strike
Yeah.
is like
Yes.
taking it seriously and really trying to win the game. I
Yep.
just get so much more. I'm gonna be like view if you feel like I'm going to spend, half an hour on this match regardless. So how much enjoyment can I get out of that half an hour?
I want to
I just get
win. I want to
way more
win.
enjoyment when I actually care about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I've always played games as competitively as
Well, you
possible.
you spent 10 years on Gene Shift. I spent 10 years playing Counter Strike competitively. So.
Yeah, yeah. What rank did you get up to
Well, I mean,
in CS?
there wasn't necessarily like matchmaking ranks, but
Oh, you're talking about like back in
yeah, we had
1.6.
leagues, and we
Okay,
got
yeah,
up
yeah,
to the cyber athlete amateur league cal. Like
yeah, yeah.
we were in Maine, and then
Nice.
in Civo I played on like a semi pro team or
Yeah, okay,
something
nice.
equivalent. So it was like mid tier. Like we weren't good enough to make it to like super like the league of over Cal Maine, which was what we were in,
Yep,
is professional, and then there's invite, and invite is like the highest tier. We were like middle of the road, but it was fun
right.
because it was very competitive in those lower leagues too, because no one's complacent. Like everybody wants to. You'd have to get a certain amount of wins per season, and then you'd make playoffs, and we made playoffs quite a few times. And yeah, we just that's where we hit a plateau, is like we realized like
Right, okay.
this is like as far as we can go. But it didn't, not for lack of trying, like
Yep,
a
yep.
lot of the fun was really just in like the practice, and like getting better and improving, and just
I
like
mean,
the. Yeah.
CS is such a like a reflex based game.
Yeah.
Like my reflexes aren't particularly good, so I'm always just capped at this. Like I would, but I would when I was playing CS. I don't play that much anymore, but like when I was playing, I would, go to YouTube and learn all those tutorials about the optimal ways to throw a flashbang against a wall, like all those little
Yeah,
tricks
absolutely.
to like. And
Yeah.
whenever I pulled it off, like when I was playing with my friends, and then I I was like the last guy, and everyone's watching you play, and then I do this amazing like throw the flashbang against just this perfect little corner of the box, and it flies over, and it's like a pop flash, and then you charge in, it's just so amazing when you actually
Oh
pull it
yeah,
off.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Um,
yeah,
I
the
should I
competitive nature just makes it so much better.
Yeah, I should ask just in case there's people in the Twitch chat that want to ask questions. Like we can do a Q&A at some point here in the near future. So
Yep,
if people just post something in the chat here as we wrap up, because
yep,
I was just kind of like scrolling through and I don't think we have any questions to answer.
yep,
Not as far as I know, but if I was just giving people an opportunity if they've been watching to post anything they want as far as
yep,
questions go. But like I guess wrapping up here, I just want to know kind of things. How about this? This is something that I've been doing lately, and I think I'm going to evolve the question as time goes on. But like, I want to give you the floor to just kind of speak to your community and people that have helped you out with your project, people in your Discord, people that you've interacted with on Reddit, just anything you'd want to
yep.
say to your supporters throughout the years, like appreciation or whatever you want to say.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I do try to make an effort of saying this in Discord itself as often as I can, but like obviously I'm incredibly grateful to the people who argue with me all day on Discord. I had this massive argument on Discord yesterday. Like it was great. It was productive because we ended up making some good changes to the game. Um, but I really like even when I'm disagreeing ferociously with someone about the way the game should be going, I do very much appreciate that people are taking their time to help me make this game. Like I'm the one who's making money if this game succeeds, not them, and yet they're the one who spend their time helping out the game. So I think that's just great, and yeah, the game wouldn't be what it is now without the feedback from all the people who post in the Discord. Like there's only so much that I can do. Like I like to think that I've got pretty good ideas, but you need the feedback and you need the ideas from the wider community to really, you know, make something as good as possible. And also the motivation as well helps a lot.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very, very grateful to the community. And yeah, when the game goes free to play, I hope the community gets a lot bigger. I
There
can
you
have
go.
more arguments with more people. It'd be awesome.
That's what we all have to look forward to, right? More
Yep.
arguments. Just kidding.
Yep.
So what people do have to look forward to in the next few months is potential like free to play release that you expect to happen within the
Yep.
next few months, correct?
Yep. Yep. Just depending on when Half Life comes out, but yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. We have to kind of like tiptoe around the Half Life game, but yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. Yeah. I was looking at um, you can type in like into Google like upcoming game release dates, and I was like, oh, February is full, and then I noticed that there was this suspiciously large gap in
uh,
March, and I
uh.
wonder if everyone else is having the same idea that I'm having, which is like, fuck, we know because Half-Life has been announced to come out in March, but not the exact date yet. Um,
Yeah, yeah. No,
so
nobody
maybe
wants to go
everyone
head to
else
head with that monster.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Everyone else is just keeping an eye on it because they're like, we can't announce a date and then have
yeah. Once you
find that Valve does the same date.
isn't there something about Steam and release dates? Like once you post it, you really are
Mm,
supposed to stick to it. There's something about
uh,
that. Like people have been
I
complaining
think
about it a little bit. Yeah, like
I
you
think it's like preferable. It's preferred that you do that, but you can always change it at the last minute. Um,
right.
So from Valve's point of view, it's not such a big issue,
Oh, okay.
but if I'm going to do a marketing campaign, that is a big issue because if I decide on a set date and
Mm.
then I start sending emails to YouTubers or
Oh
like
yeah.
Rock Paper Shotgun or PC Gamer and say here's the date, blah blah blah, make it try
Oh
to
boy.
because they want to release their video or their post on the date so their
Oh yeah,
news is
that's
as
true.
fresh and
Yeah,
relevant as
there's this
possible.
whole system, this mechanism behind it, this media machine that includes streamers. By the way, I've known
Yep,
it
for sure, yeah.
with some like influential games. People will get pissed if the game if they don't meet the release date because they're like, I took the weekend off from work and now I can't.
Yep,
Now what? My
yep,
life is
exactly.
ruined.
Yeah, yeah. So I do want
Yeah,
to have a clear exact date
sure.
before I start telling everyone that the game's going to go free to play. But I can't really do that until
Well, I mean, leading up to this release, people should freaking download. Gene Shift and play it, and they could probably play it with you at some point. Like join the
Yeah, yeah,
Discord.
for sure.
Like, what is your
Yeah,
if people want to go to the Discord? What is the Discord?
it's just discord.gg/GeneShift.
Right on. And if you download the game, you'll see a link to the Discord within
Yeah, you
Gene
can see it
Shift.
on the
So
screen right now. Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah. I'm always keen for a game whenever anyone comes on and asks,
yeah,
especially with new people, because like observing how they play and getting their feedback is the most important thing.
yeah.
Like you were
So
saying, like with the controller was screwing up your mouse. Like that's important. I need to
yeah,
make sure that's not happening
absolutely,
to
yeah,
too many
absolutely.
people.
Let them know what you
Um,
think, everybody. It's free to play, and if you feel like supporting, the button's there to do it. Just find Gene Shift Battle Royale Turbo. Just search for Gene Shift, and it will come up
yeah,
on Steam, and try it for free.
yeah, for sure.
And to find you, you can find you on the aforementioned Discord and also on Twitter.
Yep, which is just Twitter/GeneShift.
That's it. Okay. Well, thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I
It's
think we
great
better
fun.
end it before 3 hours. But yes,
Yeah, yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
fun. A lot of fun.
yeah. That was great, man. Cheers.
Okay. Now we wait for the audio to upload.